What up? How's
Let's
it
do
going?
this. It's going good. I
Typically,
feel
I
like
start with a full intro on the podcast. It feels weird just kind of like saying,
I
"Hey, we're
know.
here, we're live."
I know. Well, I mean, last time we did this, we talked for what, like 2 hours or something like
Yeah, I
that?
think yeah, I
Yeah.
think we went like at
So,
least an hour and a half. So that's
yeah.
I mean, anything less than that is a disappointment, probably, right?
Probably. Ah,
But we didn't have the. I also for the podcast have the music that gets us a little hype. The countdown is less hype than
I
that. You guys
kind
have
of
have
like
the hype music too.
I kind of like that music though that you have.
Yeah,
Nice like
I mean,
subtle like beat or something like that. I
free
feel like
online.
yeah, I feel like it's a good like middle infield defense music video, you know?
Dude, I mean, how were you riding a high with the Nico and Dansby news? Like, were you just like,
I
this is the
was.
greatest day of my entire life?
Only for content. So I can like just like I'm justified to say gold glove middle infield every
Yeah,
single day. So it was like good for Nico and Dansby, but it's good for me. That's
yeah.
why that's why I wanted the gold
Selfishly
gloves.
speaking, you're like, I
Selfishly
need
speaking.
them. I need them to win Gold Gloves so I
Yeah.
can get more content.
Yeah.
That's yeah,
I wish I was telling Corey this. I was shocked that Nico wanted to because Byron Stott
yeah.
uses Rawlings. So I'm like,
Well,
like
I
shit.
mean,
Like
you saw the PCA didn't win the Rawlings
that
Gold
was
Glove for the
nuts.
minor leagues
Makes
because
sense. Makes sense that to me.
was it you that ran through did you run
Yeah,
through
yeah, that
all
was
the
me. That was me. I'm like, there's got to be a reason for this. I tried to get like close up images of all their gloves. I did the best I could, but they're all Rawlings glove. And then
well,
like
didn't the
that,
one kid have like a glove that's like discontinued or something?
dude,
What was
I've
that?
never heard of that glove in my entire life. I thought it
Yeah.
was like a Target Walmart brand glove for like
It might
15
be. He's just
bucks.
that good.
Well, not as good as PCA, but apparently according to minor league baseball, he is.
I
That's
mean,
crazy.
yeah, it kind of is crazy. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right. Well, today we're just hopping on, and when you got on, it was like, hey, what are we doing today? It's
So is
just
this live? Are we actually live
I
right
think we're
now?
live. Actually, if you guys in the comments, we got a few watching. If you guys are in the
Oh,
comments,
we are live.
we're
Oh,
I think we're
wow.
live. We're
Okay.
live right now, and if we're coming through, please leave a comment saying, yeah, everything's good. Because if not, we'll just keep chatting whether we're live or not. So hopefully everything's good. But oh well. So we got questions sent our way. I posed on
Yeah.
Twitter. I said, hey, just give us a shout with any type of questions. We did this before, and it was just like major league questions, prospect questions. We got both ends of the spectrum covered with me and you. We've already got a few questions sent to us on Twitter. We got a few people already commenting in the comments here on YouTube. Stephen Monk said everything looks good.
Rich is here.
Justin says everything looks
Our
good.
good friend Rich.
Rich Biesterfeld has submitted some questions. PCA was robbed
He
in the
was.
same way he robs hitters.
Ooh.
Yes, that's terrific. I love
What
that.
goes around comes around.
Yeah.
So that
So
is
I don't
fair.
know. We got some questions we can get into, dude. I don't know. We can just kind of go down the line. We got
Yeah.
prospect questions. We got MLB questions, and just attack them. I don't know. You
I
game?
mean, yeah, let's go. I'm sure our conversations will go somewhere. So
All
this
right.
will be fun. What do we got?
Actually, let's start off. Some really smart guy commented earlier. Greg Huss. I don't know.
Oh, I thought that was Greg Zumack for a second. Okay.
He's the smarter one.
Okay.
He's the smarter
Okay.
one.
Sometimes.
I thought this would be a good question for both of us here.
I like
This
this.
feels like right up your alley, and also has a little bit of prospect spin on it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What is the best way to build an MLB bullpen? And I know that's a conversation that I think is really interesting and really important this year with the Cubs going out on the free agent market. And really, it felt like last year was the first time we in 5 or 6 years that we kind of saw a crack in the armor of
Yeah.
the Cubs' ability to build a bullpen out of nothing. I don't know. You just want to attack it head on. What do you look for in a major league bullpen? Is it spending money at the top end, like on some like heavy hitters at the back end, or how do you kind of look at things?
I think my thinking changes like on a year-to-year basis. Like last year going into the year, for me, the volume of AAA guys in my mind was likely going to produce value, but it didn't produce as much value as I anticipated, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to ask me this last year, I would have said, oh, volume of fringe AAA guys, exactly what they did. It didn't work. So my thinking does change. Where the Cubs had success with fringe pitchers in the past is in the form of revitalizing free agents, older free agents in their careers. Michael Givens. I mean, you can go Ryan Tepera, you can go down and down the list, right? That's not sustainable getting those guys on a year-to-year basis. And teams across the league have also improve their pitching infrastructure. So what is the best way? I think it's difficult to say. I'm tempted to say the best way is to continue what you're doing, but instead of relying on high volume guys, have such a robust system that if those AAA guys don't work out as they did last year, come the trade deadline, you use your robust farm system and you acquire outside the organization. I think ultimately it's kind of a simplistic way to say this, but have a good farm system, continue the process, continue innovating and refining the process. But I will say, if there are scenarios where spending a little bit more money makes sense, I might be more inclined to do that this year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like with relievers, it's a really to me it's the easiest way to save money. If you're looking at the luxury tax threshold, all that good stuff. I think that because there's such like high variance in like from year to year on what you're getting out of a reliever, right? Like Mark Leiter was, I mean, even month to month, right? Or like Julian Merriweather is a good example, right? Like he was really bad before he came to the Cubs. The Cubs obviously remade him to a certain degree, and he had a great year last year. But like, are you expecting another full year of Julian Merriweather being great? Like I'm not, and that's not like a knock on Merriweather. It's just like that's how relievers work, unless you're like Craig Kimbrell for 10 years or somebody or Aroldis Chapman for 10 years. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. It feels like an easy way to save some money. You call up prospects, you call up young guys, you go out there and you claim some guys off waivers, try to remake them. And then, like, even last year was not a bad year. It was probably the worst we've seen recently, but it was still a good year, you know?
They were fine, right? You just got accustomed to the majority of pitchers working out, and that's not what happened. For me, it was weird because in one sense, I like changing all these repertoires and the experimentation, but in another sense, the command and the high walk rates in AAA were pretty unsettling to me. And you can even see that, maybe we'll talk about him today, but even Ben Brown, for example, right? Mm-hmm. It's always hard to parse out why walk rates are the way they are. Jordan Wicks is a good example of someone who's working through different pitch types. Not to say that Wicks had a similar high walk rate. He still had general command, but there were several peaks and valleys where he's going and trying different pitch types. So it's hard for me to determine whether someone's walk rate, and this is someone, like you and the rest of the minor league guys follow, it's hard for me to determine how much stock I should put in some of the walk rates, because growing up, reading fan graphs, trying to predict pitchers in the early 2010s, one of the biggest predictive features, even though it's almost impossible to do, was a pitcher's command. So I'm looking at these guys going through these extreme windows of trying new pitch types and tweaking around certain mechanical things. And I'm unsure whether I should be concerned about the general trend of poor command in AAA last year.
Yeah, I feel like last year in AAA, some of it can be chalked up to the weird ABS system, right? Like the strike zones were not. So the strike zones in AAA last year were all based around the heights that players gave to minor league baseball, right? So like we saw Brennan Davis was at one point, I think, listed at like 6'5" or so on minor league baseball. And then last year he dropped down to being listed at 6 foot. Brennan Davis is not 6 feet tall. Like he's
6 foot?
He was 6 feet tall listed on MILB.com. And so like that's where like the strike zone was based off of, right? Is a guy who's 6 foot tall. And Brennan Davis he's every bit of I don't know, man, 6'2", 6'3", 6 foot. Like he's not like, I've stood next to him and he made me feel extremely small. And I'm not
looks large on TV.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think all the walk rates last year, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher in AAA, like big old like asterisk next to it. So I don't know. That's weird.
That is, I never thought about it like that. I always thought it was more so than experimenting on things. Like
that's part of it, I think.
Like, let me throw a question your way. How much, let's say you have Ben Brown, for example. Let's say a pitcher's walk rate around 5 per 9 innings.
Yeah.
do you attribute one batter per nine to that system? Like, can you do
I don't
that in
know.
your mind?
I
You know what
think
I'm
that
trying to
like the
say?
way I'm like evaluating that is just like I'm not throwing it out the window, right? Like that's not I can't do that, but like I'm not Ben Brown's 5 walks per nine or whatever it was.
Mm,
I think I trust that just as much as another pitcher that is low for some reason, right? Like
yeah.
if I'm trying to think of an example, but like if some dude that typically walks a ton is now at like 1 walk per nine, so well, I don't really trust that either. I think I'm using that to evaluate pitchers last is
Yeah.
is moral of the story. You know what I mean? Like I'm not putting any faith into it one way or the other.
I will say though, there when Corey and I do shows, we get replies and whatnot. There is a sect of fans who look at 2023 and they
Yeah,
don't like the way the bullpen shaped out, and
yeah,
they want to spend money. Like they have now this distrust that if they go and do what they did last year, that there's a possibility where come August and September it breaks again, and they want someone more stable than Adderall, even though he had a good
yeah.
year and fizzled down. So it's a weird mix. I don't know where I fall on that. My my motto is always limit the randomness. And again, the way I thought that was possible last year was high volume of good
Mhm.
stuff, guys. And it didn't work out. Now,
I'm
is that
still on
a
that train though.
I
Like I'm
still
still about that.
I'm on that train, and this is where speaking in like broad generalities is difficult because that's still what needs to be done. But something happened within those, call it experiments, where those pitchers couldn't translate to value. So the process, the intention makes sense. It's just the execution wasn't there for some reason. So if they can find ways, I hate talking in these stupid broad based big brush stroke ways, but if they can find ways to just refine that process, keeping the intention, I would be inclined to think that is the way to go going forward as well.
Yeah. It's just the most finicky part of baseball,
Yeah,
in my opinion. That's why Craig Counsell was brought in, right?
he's gonna fix everything. He may pitch himself.
Oh, I'm game for it. Position player pitching, Craig Counsell. Manager pitching, Craig Counsell.
I will say, so I said this to Corey too. He was an interesting fielder. I was watching YouTube videos of Kirk
Yeah.
Counsell, third base, shortstop, second base, first base. I was watching World Series highlights when he was in Arizona. He can play defense, man. He really can.
I
Maybe
mean,
the reason he went to the Cubs because he knew Dansby, he knew Nico were going to win Gold Gloves, and he wanted to be part of that train. He
he
saw his
wanted a
own.
front row seat
He wanted
to the
front row
Dansby Nico
seats.
show.
And no offense to Milwaukee Brewers and their middle infield. They got some good middle infielders, but there's no one like Dansby and Nico. You only
I
live
love it.
once. You
I
only live
love it.
once.
I would do that too. Everybody out there, if you could keep tossing in comments and questions if you have them, we have plenty of them to go through here. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button below. I think we're getting close to 500 subscribers here on the Sidebound
Nice.
YouTube channel. So give us a subscribe there. We appreciate it. Tommy Myers is calling out the fact that we are nerds, which I mean,
Tommy, the more I follow Tommy over the past like decade now, one of the biggest nerds possible. Some
yeah,
of
it's like
the Discord that we have, some of the stuff
hot
he
calling the
throws in
kettle
there.
black.
Yeah, well, listen, he might be worse than me. Some of the stuff he throws out there. It's
No,
like, dude, like, what's
you got
going
the
on here?
graphs on the graphs and charts on your side here. So,
That's fair.
all right, we were talking about the free agent signings. We got a comment from Greg with 2 G's on Twitter. Great name though.
All these
If
Gregs, what is
yeah,
with that in
a
minor
lot of
league
them
baseball?
all terrific. If the only big addition is Shohei Ohtani at DH, and then Plan C type free agents like Kenta Maeda or Michael Waka, would you be disappointed, or is Ohtani enough to be considered a successful offseason?
That's
Yes.
a big question.
I think I'm content with that. I think I'm content with that. I don't know.
You got to think about that. That was a fast response. You got to let that settle, let that sink in.
Well,
What that would
here's my
mean.
immediate thought. Like I'd want more, obviously, because like that
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily puts you over the edge to being like a World Series contending team for sure. But if the Cubs can go out and get the best manager in the game and the best player in the game, I don't know. Like, isn't that's pretty damn good?
I feel like if you get Otani, no matter what else happens, you're going to appease a lot of people.
I don't think they're a World Series contending team. If that's the way that like that doesn't do it. Like that does not check off like now we're there. I'd be happy. I'd be content. I don't know.
Oh man, I'm just thinking of like
That's a good question.
what it would do. That's a great question. I am interested in Michael Wacha, not as like, a primary pitcher, but he has some interesting stuff. Maeda's a little bit kind of wishy-washy, but Wacha does have some interesting stuff. If you think about it, right? So without Bellinger, they're probably a high 70s win team. With Bellinger, they're probably low 80s in terms of projection. Now, their range is probably going to be plus or minus like 5 wins. So if they're projected at 81 with Bellinger, they're probably going to be like 86 to 75 in that window. If they don't sign Bellinger and they get Ohtani, that probably puts them maybe 1 or 2 more wins, even though he's DHing on that win projection. So maybe like 82, 83 wins. But that, in my mind, the top end of that projection window is a little bit wider. And I could see them going from like, instead of 75 to 86, maybe like 78 to upper 80s with Ohtani. I would be stupid to say that it would be not enough to go into the season with just Ohtani. There's enough prospect capital, if you will. There's enough prospect potential where a few guys can come up and provide value to get you in that 90s. Ideally, I don't think you can land. This is where my brain's going now. I don't think you can sign Ohtani and not get anyone else, because part of the pitch to Ohtani is you're going to get other players.
That's a good point.
I guess this is a dumb question from Greg. And I think I only trust Greg's with 1G at the end of their name. No, I'm just joking. That's a great question, for real. I never thought about it like that.
But I think that's a good point that you just brought up. Like, I don't think that could although he's not saying that would be the only move. Like, he's saying, like, then you go to, like, the Wakas and Maedas of the world and start to bring those guys in. But you're right. I don't think Ohtani would likely come into that scenario. Like, Dansby can only pull so much weight in terms of, like, no, I promise we're winning,
Yeah. But I mean, that is a big sell by Dansby. If he goes into those meetings, you bring here's my dream meeting with Ohtani.
Are you Jed in this scenario? Are you playing the role of Jed?
I would love to be invited to this meeting, but if I'm in this hypothetical scenario and I'm Jed, I'm inviting Dansby Swanson for sure. Ian Happ will probably be there. Yeah. I'm trying my best to get Michael Jordan in that room.
Oh, yes.
If Michael Jordan
you think MJ would do it?
No. Are you kidding me? He's going to be like on his golf course in North Carolina.
For Shohei Ohtani.
I mean, if Michael Jordan
who makes the call though? Like if for the pitch for MJ, like who makes the call? Is it
Theo?
Jed?
It's Theo. Okay. Yeah. Is Theo like still technically employed by the commissioner's office?
I think so.
It was all corrupt anyway.
Yeah.
They give all those awards to those Rawlings guys.
I guarantee Theo has MJ's number.
100%.
Yeah.
No doubt about
it. Jed doesn't.
Jed does not have MJ's number. Theo can go MJ. I would not be surprised even if Joe Madden has MJ's number, but
I can see that.
But Joe Madden's in it, he's.
Do you think there's any active Major League Baseball players that have Michael Jordan's number?
Active. I think Aaron Judge would probably have his number. Captain of the Yankees,
Yeah, he would. That's a good call. I don't think even Trout would. Yeah, I don't think Trout or Ohtani.
No, I think Trout actually would.
You think he would?
Yeah, I think Trout is he's one of those sneaky guys, and he's a golfer too. Have you seen those golfing videos of him at like?
No, I haven't seen those. No.
My God.
Oh, I think at Top Golf.
Yeah.
To the moon. Yeah.
Through the moon, over the nets.
You know what? Ian Happ might. Ian Happ is a networker. Like he's out there like.
You're right.
He's out there making moves. He might have MJ's number. Yeah.
He may have MJ's number. I would not be surprised.
Let's get him back on track here. A little bit of a prospect spin MLB question: can Alexander Canario play center field at the MLB level? Honestly, I think my answer to this is pretty brief. I think that he can. I don't think he should be your starting center fielder on any team. I don't think he'll need to be because PCA is there obviously. But Yeah, I think he can play center field if you need him to. As he gets a little bit older, he'll start to fill out more, get a little bit slower, and so he'll stick to more corners than filling in at center field. But like right now, if you go into the season with the current roster, as is no other outfielders, PCA is your center fielder, in my opinion. But I think that well, actually, let's say this. Let's put it this way: if PCA is down in AAA to start off the year next year, and the Cubs don't bring back Bellinger, then I think Canario might be your center fielder.
So do we have any more PCA questions? I'm just wondering how much we can talk about, PCA.
I'm sure we do. I'm sure we do.
Okay.
Let me.
Well, we won't go into a huge PCA tailspin here. I don't really know the answer to that.
Yeah, go into a tailspin if you want.
Go into a tailspin. All right. Yeah. What time is it here? It's 5:50. Okay, I got 45 more minutes. No. I don't know the answer to this one with Canario in center field. You watch him more than I have. He looks athletic. He has a good arm from what I can tell.
I'm trying to think of a comparison in terms of he's a guy you want in right field. He's got the arm. Yeah. He has the athleticism to play right field. Like he's going to play a good right field. You shouldn't count on him to be an everyday center fielder because I don't think like he'll bring you a whole bunch of value defensively in center field, but he can do it. Like he can absolutely do it if need be. I think that's where it comes down to.
Yeah, I would not feel comfortable if he's 1 or 2 on your depth chart to open the year in center field. If they want to put PCA in AAA,
yeah.
Even if he's number 2, that would imply they get someone in free agency or they run with Talkman to open the year.
Oh yeah, or I forgot about Talkman. Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be on the roster, and I imagine to start the year.
I like Talkman better than Canario in center field defensively, just defensively speaking, obviously.
Center field's interesting though because
I like Canario better than either Hap or Seiya, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
So
for sure,
I mean,
yeah, they're in the corners forever until they're not playing for the Cubs. Yeah. PCA, yeah, he's how they manage PCA to open the year will be so fascinating to me. Defensively, he's probably among the best defenders in the league in Major League Baseball already. Offensively, it's what is the balance of promoting someone's development at Major League Baseball while also not leaving them so susceptible where some of those inherent problems they're trying to address become worse and they amplify. Then, separate from PCA's development, do you want to risk that when you're trying to win next year? It's a really multifaceted situation. I think, oh man, it's such an interesting conversation because there's, to some respect, it makes Bellinger coming back even that more important to me personally because it's an insurance policy on center field in the short term. And if Bellinger provides value and PCA gets an opportunity, shifting Bellinger to first base, PCA provides value, that's like the best scenario. And I'm willing to pay Bellinger somewhat center field money to have that insurance policy. If he's going to be getting paid, 175, maybe around that 200 point, but the way the Cubs look at it is, okay, they're going to be paying $50 million more for that center field insurance policy with the intention to move to first base. I might be okay with that.
Does Bellinger's profile scare the crap out of you though? In terms of I think that a lot of the expected number, he wasn't hitting the ball very hard last year. He was great. I'm not saying don't sign Bellinger. Yeah, it just scares me a little bit, right? What he did this past year.
It's a good point, right? So the expected numbers, there's so much noise in all these numbers. That's the thing. Yeah. When I say noise with Bellinger, there's got to be 2 different ways to parse out this expected number stuff. There's expected numbers with the full intention to have your A swing, and then there's the expected numbers with your B swing. The difference is that Bellinger went to his B swing more often than I imagine most players, where 2 strikes, choking up, trying to make contact, right? K rate went drastically down. With his A swing, I imagine if you parse that out, his expected numbers are among the best in the league, right? Yeah. So when I look at the expected numbers, I look at the capacity to provide value offensively. So I don't look at if you apply what he did last year to next year, he's going to have a 335 WOBA. I don't look at it like that for him because the capacity for him to have a 375 plus weight on base average is clearly shown. It's clearly there. Now he's going to go through different adjustments, and how often he deploys to B swing might be changed. We saw this with Javi Baez in 2018 and even 2017. One of, like, before I go, too deep here, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but with Chili Davis, one of the net.
Stop.
I know
It's like you preface, you're like, oh, like I feel like I'm talking a lot, and then you go straight to Chili Davis. That's
I got
incredible.
issues.
I was not expecting the Chili Davis.
I know, but like,
come up. Okay.
I'm nothing but objective. Greg.
Yeah. Yes.
The bulk was negative from Chili Davis. Yeah. One of his highlights was implementing that more upright approach with Javi that preceded his 2018 year. And there was times where Javi's expected numbers didn't make much sense because also Javi had that B-hack. You look at Javi from 2016, 2017, 2018. 2016, Javi had that B-hack swing, no front stride, closed batting stance. It looked like Edgar Renteria at times. 2017, a little bit more open, went more to his A swing more often. 2018, way more relaxed, kind of a hybrid between the two. And that's when he had his best year. So Javi always had the capacity to hit balls super far with consistency. Now the talent's starting to deteriorate a little bit, and now it's a different conversation. With Bellinger, the capacity is still there. I don't know. I feel as if he's going to age better than most, but you can't ignore the expected numbers. But the way I interpret those expected numbers are just more so as a proxy for willingness to have your B-hack. And it worked out for him too.
Back in your heyday, I've heard a lot about your talents up the middle defensively. Did you have the Edgar Renteria stance when you were playing back in the day?
I had the Ryan Terrier stance.
Nice. Nice.
I had, my adjustment started with Nomar Garcia Parra stance.
Yeah. Well, that was my I did the
I had the
Nomar
Louisville batting gloves.
Yep.
I had, the TPX slim
Yep.
band. And then I got to middle school. I'm like, Nomar started to fade, Derek Jeter is now my guy. So
okay. All right.
In terms of modeling your game after.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I don't have that much power. I'm only like 5'10", If I would put 6 foot on my Fangraphs page. I'm like realistically 5'10".
What would you tell MILB.com for your strike zone? And
it's an advantage to have
like 5'4".
Yeah, I'm 5'2". I'm Nick Magical out there. But yeah,
see, I didn't care how tall I was. I mean, I'm like 5'10". I was full Derek Lee at the plate. Like that was my stance.
So you had an open stance?
Oh yeah.
I struggle with the open stance. Like
I wasn't at first.
Back and forth.
At first, I still had the Nomar like stroll up to the plate. You had to have that, and then I wasn't for a while. I was like, screw it. Like I'm Derek Lee now. This is who I am.
So did you have a leg stride, like a leg kick?
Not quite as exaggerated as some Derek Lee, but
okay. Dude, I experimented with a lot. There was times where I'm just going to try to look as if I'm Manny Ramirez too at times. For some reason, I couldn't do the Manny thing. It didn't work for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, not all of us can be him. So
yeah, I tried. I really did.
I put this question up from TB31. Kind of, it lends itself to what we were just talking about, right? Yeah. Where if the Cubs don't sign Belly, would we rather see PCA get some more time in AAA or start in center field opening day? I don't know. I think that it depends on what he works on this offseason, how he comes out strong, if he comes out strong in spring. I think it's dependent on spring, honestly. My like dream scenario in terms of like acquisitions, Cody Bellinger isn't really on my like radar in terms of acquisitions. I'd love to see center field kind of figured out with players that are already there. And I'd like to see third base also figured out with the Wisdoms and Madrigals and Morels and then eventually BJ Murray or Matt Shaw and those guys. I like to see those two positions kind of handled in the organization now. But then go out and get me a first baseman. Give me a Rhys Hoskins on a 1-year deal. I think that I'd love to see him play for the Cubs. And then get me either Shohei or Juan Soto. I mean, preferably I'll just take both. But
I was going to say, why do you have to pick? Why do you pick one or the other?
Just give me those guys and put them in DH, and then you're good. Like I feel like if you're doing that, like I feel pretty confident in the lineup at that point in terms of the bats. If you can give me Rhys Hoskins and one of Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani, and then like I said, I think that we have a question later on about third base. Hold on, let me go ahead and pull that up here. While you,
Okay.
what's your thoughts on PCA?
Man, there's so many. The path forward to success is you can take so many different roads. Uh, your idea of securing first base in a form of a pillow type contract with Rhys Hoskins,
Mm-hmm.
coupling that with acquiring a generational Hall of
Mm-hmm.
Fame talent,
Yep.
it that does make sense. It requires third base and center field to be filled by one of these prospects, whether it be Matt Shaw at third base, whether it be Murray, whether it be any of the guys you're talking about, in addition to PCA securing center field. It requires that to happen. I don't know if it requires it next year.
Mm-hmm.
In the way I'm thinking about that, I would be fine risking that
Yeah.
if you do get one of those generational talents. And assuming 2025 rolls around, then you start fully trying to understand if you can fill those third base and center field voids with your farm system, because you do have that big foundation with a Juan Soto or a Shohei
Mm-hmm.
Ohtani, and then you have an idea of what you do at first base after Hoskins. I'm assuming it's going to be a 1-year deal.
I was gonna say, I think like doing Hoskins for a 1-year deal, I think that kind of you're punting that long-term decision for first base down the road a little bit,
Yeah,
which I feel less confident about like what do we have going on at first base in the organization right now. I don't know about Matt Mervis. I don't know if a prospect gets moved there. I don't know what that looks like versus third base and center field. I feel like I feel pretty confident that guys are almost ready in terms of prospects this year.
yeah,
Um, they're not going to be like full contributors the entire year long or all-star level guys, but like I feel confident about PCA or Kevin Alcantara or Owen Casey or Alexander Canario. Those are outfielders that one of them will hit. Like one of them will be good long term. And then at third base, I feel the same way where it's like Matt Shaw or James Triantos or like I said, even BJ Murray. Like I feel
yeah.
good about those guys kind of figuring out at third base somehow, some way. So and first base is just like I just don't feel that way.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I I don't let myself think about these wide range scenarios. I will say the going into the off season, I envisioned I would want more certainty. And so I think I've been a little bit more conservative with that thinking. And there's been times where I've said, you know what, I need some certainty in center field, even though we have PCA.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I think like this is not because I don't believe in PCA. The reason I think like this is because I look at the other windows
Mm-hmm.
of these players like Dansby, Ian Happ, Seiya, Nico, and I want to try to optimize this peak that they're going into.
Yeah.
And with PCA, it's not as if he can be part of this ultimate value with those peaks of those other older guys. But the thing with PCA is how much risk do you want to accept? Because the extreme version of PCA not being productive in 2024 or to start the year is really bad, where the extreme is he has to go to AAA. And then you leave the center field void that leaves me a little uncomfortable, even though you have Mike Tauchman. But then again, you have to consider Mike Tauchman's trajectory and the uncertainty projecting a player like him as well. And so my thinking has always been, I would like some certainty in center field. That's not even to say I want to get Bellinger, but just maybe someone a tier above Tauchman. And as far as third base goes, I kind of want the same thing. I don't know what that involves, though. I've always operated as if these trades have to be made. And as long as the improvement is marginal, as we're talking about, like a Rhys Hoskins at first base, I'm fine with that. But the way I think about it is I kind of want to secure up the other positions as well, while going out and getting Ohtani or Soto, just to have a little bit more like, what's the phrase? Pedal to the metal to start 2024. I think that's the difference between you and I right now.
If you're looking, okay, so like I feel like there's a few tiers of center fielders, right? So I mean, you can stick with just kind of trusting PCA in the PCA Mike Tauchman in some respect.
Yeah.
You can go top of the spectrum, which is Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
You can go like next tier, which is giving probably 2 to 3 years to Kevin Kiermaier, who looked a whole lot better, right?
Yeah.
You can go like Michael Taylor, who you could probably get him on a 1 or 2 year deal, and he's a little bit below Kiermaier in my eyes.
Yeah.
Like where are you thinking on like that spectrum?
No, the Taylor,
Yeah.
bringing up Taylor is a good player for me to accept. It requires, so if you get Taylor, then you have to go out and get one of the big fish, which I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Oh yeah.
But like the way I think about it is, okay, you get Taylor. He's great at hitting left-handed pitchers. I believe off the top of my head, because I looked at this a few weeks ago, his WOBA, I think, against lefties last year was 370, 380. And so you can imagine you platoon him with Mike Talkman.
Mm-hmm.
You hope PCA can provide value, but if not, then you go with those two for now and reevaluate at the trade deadline. And I think you can get at least borderline league average value from a Talkman Taylor start to the year, but you still never know. But that is what I would like. Okay. If I have to pay $7 million for Taylor, I think I might do that.
Because I feel like I'm the biggest Kevin Kiermaier hype man in the entire world. But I feel like if you're getting a Kiermaier on a 2 to 3 year deal, that resembles something that could potentially end up looking like Eric Hosmer versus Michael Taylor on a 1 year deal. It's like, all right, like it's 1 year. He's not preventing you from going and doing anything with PCA. Like it's just. Let's see if we can shore that up a little bit early, especially early on in the year.
The difficult process Jed has is he has such a wide range of possibilities with his team. And it's because you have such high volume talent that's close to ready. So the question from Jed is, how much do I invest upfront for 2024, knowing there might be a surplus and knowing that in 2025, I may have overpaid for the value that I could have gotten for 75% less and improved the team elsewhere. That's where Jed has to make this decision. From your point of view, Hoskins, Ohtani, and then staying what you have at third base, keeping what you have at center field, I could very easily see Jed making that decision and being completely fine with it. But it's weird. Like, where are you with PCA, right? Like, do people point to his late September call up as proof that he's not ready?
No, like, dude. Oh my God. Can I? Okay. So
yeah, go for it.
Okay. So there was nothing, and I've said this on the podcast like plenty of times, but I want to reiterate the fact that, like,
and I know you had a list. I knew you were ready for this.
There was nothing that we saw in Chicago with PCA that should make us think any difference than what we already thought about him in AAA before he got called as the bigs. We saw the exact, like, was he susceptible to high fastballs? Yeah, but he was also susceptible to high fastballs in AAA. Like, that was already a concern that we had. Like we did nothing changed at the big league level. He didn't get a hit in what he ended up having 14 at bats, or something like that over the course of a month, right? Like, doesn't matter. Don't care. It's worthless. It doesn't even matter to me. It doesn't even register that he did that, right? Was he too aggressive on the base paths? Yes, but he was also super aggressive on the base paths in the minor leagues. You know, like, there was nothing that happened at the major league level for PCA that made me go, wonder. I'm curious about that. You know, it was all the same. So if I guess I don't understand the people that are like that were high on him before he came up to the majors and are low on him now. Like, if you're worried about him now, then you should have already been like, well, not a top 5 prospect in the system. You know, it's like, I don't get that. My thing with PCA, real quick, is, unlike some other prospects that have come up and struggled. Like, PCA is different than Matt Mervis because one's a top prospect, one never was, right? But with Matt Mervis, if he doesn't hit, then he is not, like, you can't carry him on a major league roster because that's what he's there to do, is hits. PCA could put up a 600 OPS and still be a multi-WAR player, right? Like, that, his defense is that good. Now, obviously, you want more from him than a 600 OPS, obviously, but, like, he can be below average OPS and still be valuable.
Yes, and that's the base. His worst case scenario is a Kevin Kiermaier profile, right? Where you're wearing gold gloves and you're among the lowest offensive producers in the league. That's fine because that's still valuable. You're going to put up 2-3 wins on defense, and in PCA's case, base running alone, that might put you around 3.5 wins. PCA's offensive profile, what I want to ask you about, because there's the visual aspect to PCA. It's the fast twitchiness, it's the improved power, it's the adjustment post few months promotion that he's gone through at each level. Nevertheless, the bulk sum, even though there's variability in some projections, the frequency of contact he does make, even at AAA, it was pretty low.
Yeah.
Like his contact rate was almost 70%. And that is really low. That's that I'm trying to put this in like a Major League Baseball percentile context. That would probably be like 25th percentile, I think.
Yeah.
And so for PCA's case, because he doesn't have the let's say 65 plus power, someone who whiffs that much is going to introduce a lot of error and projecting offense for the front office. And that's kind of where I think about sliding him in 2024. So the question that I kind of just putting the foundation for you is, how much should I look at the whiff rate in comparison to how he's adjusted, let's say an A ball to AA to AAA? Is there a reason to believe that over time he's going to be an average contact guy? Is there a reason to believe he's going to be average to above average power with average contact? How do you see his overall offense playing out?
I think that I put up this question here. I'll obviously answer what you have, but I think this is a good way to kind of talk about it. Is that the Albert Almora, worried he might be an Albert Almora defense and speed. The difference is that for a super young guy like PCA, I think I'm willing to bet on offense that he does have some decent exit velocities. Like he shows he can turn on a baseball, and put it in the air, rather than a guy who is like all contact and watching that trying to watch that translate to the major league level. You know, like if the pop is there, I feel more confident in him being more selective and not swinging through changeups, and being more selective and not swinging through high fastballs. You can't teach a guy to, I mean, you can, but it's harder to teach a guy to hit the ball harder. Like you just got to hit the ball hard. And he's shown the ability really quickly in a short amount of time to be able to turn on pitches, which is that's not an easy skill to pick up. You know, like to go from a guy that like was spraying the ball all over the field to be able to turn on fastballs and hit them over the right field wall, like that's a skill that takes some time to develop, and he did it pretty quickly. And so like that means something to me. So I guess to answer your question is like I just think I think there's still a lot of adjusting still to do. And just the fact that his base of like being able to show more power than we ever thought he would ever have gives me more confidence. Now, am I confident that he will be a 280 hitter with that hits out 25 home runs a year? Like, no, I'm not. I don't have like the utmost confidence in that happening. But I don't know. I just don't think we need to see that. I think he'll hit for enough pop. Then, like with Albert Almora, right? He was not hitting for any power. He was dribbling ground balls to the third baseman every single at bat. And so, like, that's not a profile I dig. A guy being able to turn on fastballs, I can get down with that.
Yeah, it's different eras too.
Yeah.
The center field defensive floor is the comparison between Almora and PCA. The speed is not even a comparison.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like PCA speed is like top notch. It's going to be by far the best on the Cubs next year. And there was a interview that Nico Hoerner took talking about PCA speed and talking about the base running. And it was very, very informative because Nico was describing to some degree their base running system, where he attributed his steals. I forgot how many he ended up. I should know this. It was like what, over like 45 or so. Nico Hoerner. Yeah, how many steals he got? Something like that.
I think he had 40.
Yeah,
keep talking. I'll look it up.
Somewhere around there. So the attribution for those number of steals is more so in Nico's eyes to the system that they had in place. And if you watch Nico,
43.
Yeah, if you watch Nico run the bases last year, there were so many times where he's like getting this running lead at first base with the pitch clock stuff, how many times he can step off. And so he leveraged those new rules and stole bases. Then he used PCA's speed and context, and he basically implied, if I had PCA speed, I would steal then so many more bases. I could easily see if PCA can put up an OBP of like, not even being greedy, like 335 or so.
Hmm.
He's going to steal over 50 bases, no questions asked. Probably
Yeah.
like 60 plus bases, just that alone. The last one I have about PCA and Almora before we go on here, I don't think we should, not saying like you or anyone else does it. Just when I say, oh, I don't think we should, or I don't think you should do this. I'm speaking like, to the moon over here.
At
But
me next time.
yeah, I'll at you next time. But I don't think we should at least consider how much improvement PCA needs to accept to get to that next point. I think you look at like exit velocity here. I don't think we can kind of brush off that his exit velo was like bottom 10th percentile at AAA. I don't think we should really brush it off. It was just under 87 miles per hour. Now, if you apply that to Major League Baseball, the average exit velo is around 88. If he had 87, he's in the bottom 15th percentile. The max exit velo he had last year is about 107. Again, that's like about bottom 15th percentile in Major League Baseball. Like he has not shown high frequency hard hit contact yet. He has shown the ability to go opposite field, to pull the ball, to show the signs are there. He has not done it at a high volume level yet. Now, where I'll finish off and differentiate Almora and PCA, one thing that I consider is there's this huge unknown in hitting development right now. We're on the outside. We're on the outside for just all of it mostly, but especially so on hitting. What I do know, analysts in the game right now are trying to understand hitting so they can inform development. As a result, I don't know what PCA innately has that can be brought out by the Cubs development team. Visually, it doesn't make sense that some of his numbers would look like Almora's because they're drastically different athletes.
Yeah.
So as a result, I imagine if the Cubs are at the forefront of development, there's something hitting wise that suggests he can be way better than Almora because visually there is no comparison between the two athletically.
Plus, PCA has that dog in him, so that makes a big difference.
He's a psycho person.
Yeah. Hey, breaking news.
What? We got Ohtani?
We did not get Ohtani. We got a new reliever. Have you seen this?
I saw that like on my drive home. Corey texted me. I thought it was like breaking like real news. And I guess we got some lefty from Japan.
We got Edwin Escobar. You know anything about Edwin Escobar? You got anything off the top of your head?
We're about to pull up his baseball savant if he hasn't any data right now.
Yeah, you pull up savant. I've got Brett over at Bleacher Nation pulled up here. He was he's a former top 100 prospect with the Red Sox.
Oh, Eduardo Escobar. Yeah.
Edwin Escobar. Edwin Escobar.
Oh, wait, what am I doing right now?
Edwin
Escobar.
He was in Japan, and he posted ERAs at 2.17, 3.26, 2.42. Good ERAs. I like that. Yeah. This is good content here. He reportedly been sitting with a 96 mile an hour fastball from the left side last year. So I don't know. There you go. There's your boy.
So the last I'm on his savant page. The last piece of data is from 2016, which
That's
is
wild.
the noteworthy year for the Cubs, 2016 for many reasons.
What?
But
why?
I think they may have won a World Series that year. That's what I'm told.
It's true. That's the rumor going around. I keep seeing that being posted places, and I'm just, I don't know.
It would be pretty remarkable if it were true.
That'd be wild. Yeah. They should host a huge parade if that's the case.
They should. I should look at Ben Zoper's Fangraphs page, see if I can find anything interesting.
I want to point out too. You mentioned about the stolen bases. Rich points out that a lot of the base running approach was from Kevin Graber, who was. He started off the year in Arizona, working on development with players down in Arizona. And then mid-season, he ended up getting bumped up when the Tennessee Smokies manager left. He was a manager for the Smokies playoff run. And he seems to be incredibly well-liked in the organization, does Kevin Graber. So the fact that was kind of a Kevin Graber-led thing is, one, not super surprising to me, and two, awesome that it came from him.
This is why Rich is rich, because he has information like this. I had no idea. Thank you, Rich.
All right, can we talk about this third base? Because I popped it up earlier.
Okay.
Eric Lynn sent me. Actually, he sent me this question on Twitter
I love this
before
question.
before we even announced this was a thing. But
Yeah.
I wanted to pull it over because it was a good question. Who is the Cubs' third baseman of the future? Is it Christopher Morel, Matt Shaw, James Triantos, or insert free agent here? You want to answer?
Yeah, I'll answer.
What you got?
I'm trying. I don't want to talk too long here. I feel like I'm talking a lot.
What's your first thought, and then you can kick it to me. Like
Dude,
what's your
my first thought is Matt Shaw does not make sense, and
okay
when I say doesn't make sense,
in
he's
the best way possible, right?
in the
Like
best way possible.
Yeah.
Flying through the system, top 100 prospect, unanimously. It feels like the power, the contact, the fast twitchiness, the attitude, the way he's having success. I need to pull up his numbers because the numbers are absolutely insane. Not striking out and doing all this with power, and the rate at which he's doing this, to me, that is number one on how I envision players, because you want players that don't make sense. You want players that are outliers in the best way, because there's this, it means when you have outliers in that best way that the ceiling is enormous. And so when I look at Morel, also insane ceiling with major league success. You look at Triantos, high floor, high contact guy, defensive problems like Morel, perhaps in the infield, may not have the power that Morel has as well. You look at Shaw, flying through the system, not striking out, blitzing the ball all over the place, looking like one of those weird freak hitters. I have to go with Shaw with this one.
If you want a simplified version of who Matt Shaw is as a player, it is you start with the Nico Hoerner mold, and then you add more pop, you add more power to his game, but then you subtract quite a bit of defense from his game as well. Like that's your trade-off.
Before you answer yours, I just want to read these numbers off. So he gets drafted last year, goes to and has, what is this, 89 plate appearances in Able, bats 393, and with 4 home runs. That's like impressive as a standalone. But for me, the most impressive part is he's having power with a 13.5% K rate. That's impressive, right? I'm like, all right, that's cool. Still Able, as a college bat, he should be doing well. Goes to Double-A, still in 70 plate appearances in Tennessee, 3 home runs, not striking out, 17% K rate, isolated power 231, batting average almost 300. This is not normal to be going to Double-A.
I wasn't prepared for the pop. I wasn't prepared for the pop to happen. Like I admittedly was less in on the draft this year than I was in past years, but like I figured the hit. I knew the hit tool was really good. I knew that he had the ability to just like limit the strikeouts in extreme amounts. But the fact that it wasn't just like pull side pop, he was showing power to right field, like to the opposite field. It wasn't like
how do you explain
slap
that?
over there.
How do you explain that? Seriously,
like the fact that he does that.
But it feels like everyone missed on him. Like, I don't understand how the Cubs got him and how good he's been. Like, how did the entire league miss this?
Yeah, I think part of it is the Cubs. Well, first of all, the Cubs have a really good scout there down in that area.
Yeah. Wait, so they scouted locally in Maryland? You mean like the local scout?
It's the same scout that got Triantos. Actually, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but
promote him.
Yeah,
give him
and he's
double
tremendous.
his salary.
He's the Cubs' best scout. Same guy who got like DJ Hers, who got Colin Moreno, who got Zaire Hope this past year. Who, spoiler alert for the 20 some odd people that are on the stream, I'm gonna have Zaire Hope extremely high on my prospect rankings that come out next month. So. But yeah, anyways, so I think that's part of it. I think part of it is also that he played in the Big Ten, which doesn't have a whole lot of really good competition. I think part of it is that his defense, it's like they weren't sure that he could stick it short, which I don't think he can. And so I think that contributes. There were some really good guys up at the top of the draft. The Cubs are the best in the entire world. I think that's part of it.
That's really what it is.
No, I think that, Matt Shaw is my pick here. For the guy who is the
how do you think about this, right? Because Morel, offensive ceiling off the charts. Triantos, again, contact, AFL, tearing it up. Why in your mind, in Greg's mind, why Shaw over these two guys?
Okay, so let me knock off the others. Like I think the best way to do it is to knock off the others, right? So free agent, you're not. I don't like any of the third base free agents that are available
So you're
on the
not
market
giving Matt
this
Chapman
offseason.
money.
Matt Chapman, no.
Yeah, neither am I.
Candelario, love him, but also don't
No,
want
neither am
him
I.
back. I'm not about it. And then after that, is there another third baseman on the market?
No.
Like, okay, so that's out, right? And the thing is too, I think that the reason why that's out is because like this needs to start kicking into gear this year as far as who your third baseman of the future is. Like it can't be next offseason, unless all these guys fizzle out really bad, right? Which I don't foresee that being an issue. So that's why free agency is out in terms of third baseman for me. Morel, I'll remove him. So
You hate Morel. I get it.
yeah,
You were
you
never
know
high
me.
on him. All you prospect guys were always low on him. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're doing it again.
You kind of nailed it. I think you were talking about it on your last episode.
Yeah.
With Morel, so you got to put stock into the way the Cubs organization treats these players, right? So, and I do that when I'm ranking prospects, right? I have to take into account, like, I had Jonathan Perlaza and, that's a good example. I had Jonathan Perlaza ranked lower than what, like, I would have liked to see, than what I would have ranked him. I would have ranked Jonathan Perlaza higher if I'm going on, like, how I'm scouting and viewing players. But the Cubs refused to call up Jonathan Perlaza to the major leagues last year, even when he was ranking. So, like, if they saw what he was doing at the plate and still said, nope, we're not calling you up, then that goes to show, like, what they think of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had to knock him down my prospect rankings. I say that because I'm looking at Christopher Morel, and me and you see a guy that is a freak athlete, that has a great arm, put him at third base, work him there all offseason, and just say, learn how to throw from third base to first base.
Yeah.
Learn, like figure it out, you know? But the Cubs have not done that. And so I view that it's like they just don't believe in him ever playing third base. The first base report of him coming out made me sick. But it's like maybe that's what he is. Maybe just get good enough at multiple positions, be a utility guy or be traded this offseason. I just don't think he's a third baseman long term for the Cubs. Triantos is, to me, there's so many similarities between. I talked about Shaw and Nico Hoerner. Well, I think that Triantos and Shaw are also very similar, but the difference there is that I think that the hit tool is very, very similar. The limiting the strikeouts is very, very similar between the two. The ability to draw walks, that's tough to say. Like maybe advantage Triantos a little bit, but it's
lower levels right now.
Yeah, it's lower levels, and both of them are gonna walk way below league average if they make the major.
And Shaw's aggressiveness is just big.
Yeah, it's just not that's not part of either of their games.
Yeah.
But I like Shaw's power quite a bit more than Triantos is. And I actually like Shaw's athleticism and ability to stay on the dirt more than Triantos. So just advantage Shaw there. You know what I mean? So like I think that Triantos is a really good example of someone who might get traded too. I think that like if there was one player in the organization that I expected to get traded this offseason, like I most expected to get traded, I think Triantos more than Morel even. I think like Triantos, I'd be more surprised if he's on the Cubs come spring training than the other way around.
Yeah, given how the Cubs have designed their prospects, I would be inclined to say the same thing. And that still shows the value of Triantos. Like, even though he may not be in the plans for this major league team, he's still a really good player. For me, again, I will always do this. I don't know if it's the right way of going about it, but I look for prospects who may not be the most predictable per se, but I look for prospects who look the weirdest, who have maybe the highest ceiling, but still they go through these valleys of they're adjusting really fast, and they may go through some really bad adjustment periods as well, but they adjust fast and they have these weird accelerated timelines. And Morel is one of those guys, right? And Shaw, he's had no developmental falls right now.
Exit velo numbers for Shaw are significantly higher than James Triantos, like significantly higher. Shaw was 90th percentile exit velo at like 1/3, or sorry, max exit velo
Max.
numbers at 113.
Right.
Triantos is not there. Like that's pretty impressive from
I
Shaw.
think Triantos is our size. He might be smaller, actually.
No, I think yeah, I think right around there. I should have paid more attention when I interviewed him this season,
Yeah, you
but
should. Next time you see
I
him, you ask him how tall he is,
yeah,
or you
like
just
how
measure
tall
him
are you
up.
actually? Yeah.
Yeah, how tall are you actually? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Stand back to back.
we're not done with the third base conversation.
Oh boy.
Tim Price, crazy idea. Let's say the Cubs trade for Soto. Go to Ian Happ, who has appeared at third base 34 times in his big league career, and who has won consecutive Gold Gloves in left field. Played third base. Uh, I, I, could he play third base? Probably technically.
Technically, yeah. I can play third base too. I would make some plays, no
No,
doubt about it.
I don't think that's likely, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that like if Soto gets acquired, he's a DH.
I give that a 0.01% chance. And Hap has been on record saying he
Yeah.
values the consistency in left field defensively. He's worked at it. That's why he's been awarded
I
Gold
think it's more likely
Gloves.
he gets traded. I don't think it's likely he gets traded. I think it's very, 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 very unlikely Hap gets
Yeah.
traded. But I think it's more likely that happens than he plays third base.
I mean, you were talking about 0.0001% versus 0.001%. So, I guess whatever you want to take that as. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, no. And nor would I want that given the other options. So,
Let's see what other questions we got here. We got
Rich says Triantos is 6 foot. Do not believe that. Do not believe that.
I could see that.
No way.
I wish I'd pay more
There's
attention.
no way. There's no way.
Do you think he's shorter or taller?
100% shorter.
Oh,
I've
see,
seen Triantos in person too.
I don't think
He's like
so,
he's
dude.
our size, dude. He's our size. Rich, is Triantos my size? Rich will know. And if he says yes, he's not 6 foot.
This is how we measure on
Yeah.
Baseball Reference.
Yeah.
Is we just
I'm
put Brendan
technically
up
five.
yeah.
I'm technically like 5'9.25", but I just say I'm
mean,
5'10".
Yeah, that's good enough to round up. I sometimes say 5'11" because it's five. I'm 5'10" and 3/4. So
3/4. Well, that's more realistic than mine.
yeah. All right. I haven't read this one. I just saw Wisdom and Madrigal's name. Oh, more third base. Does it seem likely that Wisdom, Madrigal, and Miles Mastroboni will man third base in 2024 with the hopes that Shaw can take over sometime in 24 or at least in 25? Do you think Shaw has the arm to stick at third base? Real quick before we get into that, Rich says he's much bigger than you.
He's just gaslighting me. That's just not nice, Rich. We're friends.
Actually, I'm glad this question came in because I was actually gonna answer that on the last question about third base. I think that it makes sense timeline wise to go play into what I was saying earlier to go Wisdom and Madrigal. I think that honestly, I think that David Ross did a pretty decent job making that work at third base last year. And I think that Craig Counsell will probably do an even better job at making that work. I think you start off the year with all things considered, you start off the year with Wisdom and Madrigal. I think that BJ Murray is that next like kind of in between guy. I think that it will be Shaw, and I think it could be Shaw by the end of the year. I think if we see Shaw in Chicago this year, it should be considered like a wild success. Like
What is the probability Murray provides major league value as a Cub in the next 2 years, in your opinion? Not that he can do it, but rather he actually does it for the Cubs.
In terms of like what do you consider major league? Like what do you?
Nick Madrigal's role of 2023.
40%.
That's high. That seems high.
To do what Madrigal did?
I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm saying that the Cubs actually let him do it.
Oh.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I think part of that is not dependent on Murray. I think part of that's dependent on the timeline of Matt Shaw.
That's my point, right? Like we talk about Murray and we talk about Triantos being involved in trade discussions. I kind of put Murray in the same boat.
Yeah, well, but I think that Murray is so Murray, right? Like he's going to start next year in AAA Iowa, and I think it's more likely. I guess the way you look at it is like is BJ Murray going to knock off Madrigal Wisdom?
How much?
That's what it comes down to.
I guess going back at it too, how much better of a defender is he than Triantos? I don't know.
BJ Murray than Triantos?
Yeah.
Triantos didn't really play any third base last
year. Let's in your mind, right? Put on the 20-80 scale. If you had to put Triantos at a 40, where's Murray? 50?
If I wouldn't put Triantos at a 40.
You put him below a 40? Yeah, you're probably right. Probably like 35. Don't go below 35. It's just mean. But go below 35? Wow.
I'd put BJ. I'd take BJ Murray's defense over Triantos' defense at third base. I just need to see more of Triantos there. And BJ Murray got significantly better as the year wore on. He ended up playing almost all of his innings in the field at third base. He started off not great. Versus Triantos in 2021 got most of his playing time at third base. In 2022 got most of his playing time at third base. This year, he got most of his playing time at second base. So
can his bat hold up?
Who? Murray's? Murray, the tricky part with Murray is that he is so dependent on continuing to draw walks, and that scares the crap out of me.
Well, I don't like that either.
Yeah. Like I think that the contact skills are there. I think it's good enough to hold his own at the major league level, but the problem is the power needs to keep developing because he won't continue to draw walks if the power isn't a little bit scary. You know what I mean? Like that, because guys just throw the ball in the zone a little bit more. So I think I viewed Murray in this conversation because I don't know that Shaw won't be ready midseason. I don't think. I
honestly don't know. Like you have when you're slotting out possibilities of what could happen. Let's say I think of things on like a bell curve. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say at the tail end of the bell curve, I think Shaw playing Major League Baseball next year is within that distribution of possibilities.
I think so. Yeah. No, I think late in the year. I think that I just don't.
Dude, he's not normal. I'm not
saying normal. And I've said so many times that once a top prospect or 40-man roster guy reaches Tennessee, it does Iowa doesn't matter. Iowa's not a thing for those guys because they're top prospects or 40-man roster guys. So, but I mean, dude, that would be so fast.
And that's an extreme. That's not likely.
It's faster than Nico, dude.
It's faster than Nico. I get it. It's crazy. His timeline is not normal. What he's doing with aggressiveness and power and contact is not normal. So as a result, why not? Like to me, if you want to put in like a probability, I give it 0.5% chance, but 0.5% chance is not
0.5% chance of what? Of him?
I'll give him a 0.5% chance of him playing by the end of June. I'd give it.
Yeah, well, okay, but if you're talking 0.5%, I mean, yeah, okay, I'm game.
All right, let me pull it up a little bit. I'm gonna go with a 2.5% chance. That's not right. I give it 2.5% chance by end of June.
I give it 1% chance I'm playing third base for the Cubs in June.
Whatever. And I give him a 20% chance by mid-August, and I give him a 50% chance by September. He'll be up next year, I think, over 50%.
Yeah, I'd go just below 50%. So I mean, I think that you're splitting hairs at that point. By the end of the year.
Yeah.
So
well, okay, so I guess we didn't really answer the question here. So does it seem likely that Wisdom, Magical, Maz were man third? Blah 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 blah. So I mean, do you think Shaw has the arm to do it? Did you say it, or did I just miss it?
I think Shaw has the arm to do it.
Okay.
If Nick Madrigal does,
I mean, I've seen some highlights and everything. He looks like strong enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't. I wouldn't say he has a strong arm. He can play third.
Yeah. And Dansby doesn't have the strongest arm either. They just make it work. So
yeah, I'm really not concerned about that.
I will say the only way that they roll with Wisdom, Magical, and Masterboni is to your point, Greg. If they go out and get a big fish and they have Hoskins at third base and they are secure enough where at least they're like a good chance of making the playoffs, that's the only way third base goes back to those three guys.
Yeah. I had to throw this in here. We got a comment from Modern Boxes on Twitter.
I knew you were going to do this.
Ask Brendan about the Cardinals acquiring.
It's supposed to be a happy discussion between you and I.
Well, I mean, it can be happy. Like you didn't want him back with the Cubs, so he gets to go to the Cardinals.
I was telling Corey this. I saw the announcement and I read it as Cubs hire bench coach Descasso, and I had have you ever had like tunnel vision where your ears start to ring a little
Yeah.
bit?
You're like, this can't be happening to me.
I almost passed out. The ears started to ring a little bit, and
Oh,
you know,
jeez.
in all seriousness, he seemed like a good guy. I don't want to
Yeah, no, he
bash
did.
Daniel
He did.
Descasso. It's just he was by far, well, not by far, because he had Eric Sogard like the next year.
Yeah.
Man,
Easy.
dark times.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about this anymore. That was bad.
well, and when it was first announced that they hired Daniel Descalso, it was not even for a position. Like they said that he's going to be on the major league coaching staff, but like they don't know about what role yet. And so I texted my buddy. I go, not sure what we're hiring for, but we simply must have Daniel Descalso on our coaching staff. It's like, what are you doing? What is happening?
Yeah, seems about right.
Yeah.
So,
All right, let's go. Rich sent in a question about Bryce Wyndham because he knows I got to talk about Bryce Wyndham on the show.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about him too. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So, well, the question is, will we get to see Bryce Wyndham make his MLB debut in 2024? As of right now, yeah, because they haven't they haven't signed that minor league depth guy. Like PJ Higgins was like the minor league catching depth in case somebody got injured. Yeah, I'll say yes. I'll say yeah. We see Bryce Wyndham next year. I think that like it won't be for an extended period of time, but I could see a scenario where Yan Gomes is getting old, man. Like he's getting up there in terms of baseball age. I could see him going down with an injury. Then you got Miggy Amaya as your starting catcher, and then you call up what they're going to sign another minor league catcher. Like they'll sign the PJ Higgins of this year, although PJ Higgins is gone, but they'll sign that equivalent, the Dom Nunez they did last year, stuff like that. And then all it takes is one more like catcher injury, like slight tweak, like to the 10-day IL, and then Bryce Wyndham's your guy. You know, I think.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I think that like
is he that good of a defender and game caller?
I think that he is. I think he's good enough for the amount of time that he'll be spending. You know, like because he won't be your. He might not even start a single game during whatever time you need him for. You know what I mean? So like he is a freak athlete. Like he's a damn good athlete.
Yeah.
I think his arm could probably improve a little bit. I don't love his arm, but I think that's something he's probably working on this offseason.
Okay.
But I think he's mobile enough back behind the plate for sure. I think he's worked quite a bit on his blocking. I think his game calling is good. I think his receiving is good. He's not going to hit at the major league level at this point. Like I've been saying for a while, like he won't strike out ever. He'll put the ball in play a lot.
I'm looking at his numbers now. He doesn't strike out at all.
Yeah, he never strikes out. Like he's had a
18%
strikeout and walk rate like close to each other for almost his entire career.
Literally 14.5% each in AA last year.
Yeah. So,
or 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. But so but he just doesn't have any power to speak of. So,
do you believe in Miguel Amaya getting 300 plus plate appearances next year?
Yeah, I think it's set up pretty perfect.
Not as DH, but as like catcher, like 300 plate appearances, catching. So like 100. Let me do my math here. Like 90 games catching.
Yeah, I'm game. I'm game for that.
You game?
I think coming off last year where we saw a lot of Yan Gomes and hardly any Miguel Amaya, too much of Tucker Barnhart. But we won't talk about that. But I think going into closer to like not an exact like 50-50 split, but more of a timeshare between those two guys makes sense this year, leading into next year where you lose Gomes more than likely, and then Miguel Amaya is your starting catcher. I think it's honestly worked out pretty perfect. In terms
How shocked are you with Amaya?
I'm not shocked.
Okay.
I'm ecstatic that he was able to get back to this point. But I wasn't, when you're injured for that long of a time and you lose that much development, like it's one of those things where like you just can't expect it anymore. It's kind of like Brennan Davis, right? Like if Brennan Davis was to somehow like figure it out again next year and a couple of years from now, I'd be like, yeah, like he was a really, really talented player. Of course he figured it out, or like at least he got something figured out. You know what I mean? Like that talent doesn't leave you. Your ability to play because of injury, like Brennan Davis is not the same player Brennan Davis was a few years ago because of the injuries. It just like hampered him physically. Miguel Amaya couldn't play. He couldn't get that development because he was injured. but like that ability, that skill level was still in you as a player. It just needs a chance to come out. And so obviously he didn't have a super strong season offensively, but the fact that he made it to the majors, like that's awesome. Like I'm about that.
Do you think his bat will improve as he ages?
I think his bat will improve as he gets more at bats.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Well,
was
that's the question I want to ask is what we saw in limited playing time what we should expect, or do you see scenarios where he continues to improve with more consistent playing time?
I don't think he's going to be like a I don't even want to say Wilson Contreras. I don't even think he'll be like a.
It's hard to get comparison these days.
Catchers are tough.
I know.
Catchers
like,
are tough.
let's say if he's like a 315 Woba guy, I'm like pretty happy about that.
Yeah. I think that like that was the one thing. Like I love that he got to learn from Yan Gomes last year. I love that the Cubs trusted him enough to release Tucker Barnhart. I loved that.
And he caught Kyle basically Kyle all the time.
I love all of that, and that was great for his development as a player in general. But like I would have loved to see him get more consistent at bats at Iowa. Like that surprised me a little bit to not get that, especially because he just didn't get any at bats for the last 2 years before that, 3 years before that.
It's a delicate balance, right? Because you get the major league, which the Cubs value defensive development, game calling development, versus weighing that on actual like playing for his offensive development. Yeah.
So I think that I'm very content with the way that they've kind of handled it up to this point.
Yeah, same.
What's this here? Hypothetical. Will several top prospects projected to graduate this year and several highly sought for trade purposes, do you think that the minor leagues will be elite this time next year?
That's a good question.
This time next year. That is a good question.
So let me lay, because you're better at answering this than me. Let's like put out the scenarios, okay? So this time next year, Matt Shaw gets 20 plate appearances in the big leagues. Trianto is just traded, so he's off the team. PCA is your starting center fielder, so he's 100% graduated. Owen Casey is traded. Let's just put this out there. Traded. And Cade Horton's the pitcher. Ben Brown is traded as well. So you're losing like 5 of your top 10 through trades and graduations.
Yeah. So who you'd have left over at the top would be Jefferson Rojas.
Yep.
You'd have Jackson Ferris.
Yep.
You'd have Moises Ballesteros wouldn't have graduated or touched the major leagues.
Do you think he will? By the way, I mean he's one of those. He's one of those bats, right? So DH, because the Kyle Schwarber 2015 thing, just bring him up. Get some at bats.
That's good, man. The bat's advanced. I think that like I would be blown away.
I can't believe it's taken us 77 minutes. What is this? Yeah, 77 minutes. Not even mentioned Ballesteros.
If 20-year-old Moises Ballesteros makes his major league debut next year, I will lose my mind. Like I will. Like there's no way. Like it's more because like that precedent is not there.
That would be now I want it to happen.
Like at least when when we're talking Shaw, right? When we're talking Shaw, it's like Nico, and Nico and Shaw are similar players. Yeah. Like Moises Ballesteros, the catcher, which I'm not ruling out his catching. Yeah.
In my mind, he's never going to, like, I don't know if this is stupid to say, but he's just never going to be a catcher in my mind. Like, he's just, like, destined for, like, DH, maybe first base.
But, and that was my thought for a while.
Yeah.
But he can't be a first baseman. He's pretty slick over there at first base.
Yeah.
But he's 5'8".
What do you got against 5'8" people?
Maybe
he's 6 foot on Fangraphs. What are you talking about?
I don't put a whole lot of 5'8" guys at first base. I don't know, man.
You're right.
Christopher Morel's thrown across the diamond.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those extra inches matter.
Maybe he's DH, right? But I don't know. But so like he's still there. No, the system will not be nearly as good as it is right now. Like not even close. That's just too many guys to lose. But I've said this. I mean, I think we're going on year 3 of me saying this now. The Cubs are building. The Cubs have built. I've been used to saying are building. The Cubs have built. They're done building at this point. They've built a Cubs farm system that can sustain guys being called up and then replenishing them and then continuing to call them up year after year after year. It is not what we saw in the previous World Series contention window where everybody arrived at the same time. And after that, it was like, well, that's all the prospects we got. It's like there are guys throughout this organization. Now, it's once all those, I mean, that's a ton of guys. PCA, Horton, Alcantara, Owen Casey, Matt Shaw, Jordan Wicks.
That's a best case scenario.
So it's like all those guys, like that's losing a ton of guys. Like and some of those guys will stay in the system a little bit longer. Some of those guys will be moved on from. Some of those guys will make an impact in Chicago. Like all that'll happen. But yeah, I mean, if it's a top 5 system right now, it'll fall back to a top.
Who did you say you're very high on? I forgot the name that you mentioned.
Zaire Hope.
So let's talk about hope.
Yeah.
Give me hope.
Yeah, nice. So Zaire Hope was an 11th rounder this past year. The Cubs somehow found a way to find money to sign him out of high school.
18 years old.
18 years old. I think he technically did get called up to Myrtle Beach at the end of the year, but he didn't. I don't think he got any at bats there. He's a really, really good athlete. He's got quite a bit of pop. A lot of rumblings out there about really good exit velo numbers from this 18-year-old kid. Where I mean, if he already has some good exit velo numbers, and he's going to continue to add 3 or 4 miles an hour as he continues to climb up the ladder in the next few years, like I'm about it. He plays center field. I think he can stay in center field. Really good athlete, good defender, all that good stuff. I think what we saw from Jefferson Rojas this past year and the way that he broke out, Zaire Hope is like I think
from
that's
Arizona?
Next year. Zaire Hope?
Yeah.
No, he's from North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm watching his YouTube videos right now.
Zaire Hope was.
Oh, he's got a swing. Look at that swing.
It's a pretty swing, dude.
Ooh,
Virginia, not North Carolina, Virginia.
He's a big guy too for 18 years old.
Yeah. I think that, but it reminds me a lot of Rojas, right? Like Rojas is that really good athlete, but he filled out to the point where he was a teenager that looked like he belonged.
Dude, Rojas is like also not a normal prospect.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see
Rojas this year.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rojas and Zaire Hope as the number 1 and 2 prospects in the system come the end of 2020.
Did he pitch too, Zaire Hope? Why am I watching pitching videos of this?
They all do in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, James Francis was popping 95 on the gun in high school.
I don't believe that. Yeah. I don't believe that at all. That's a hot gun. That's a hot gun. Oh, by the way, I'm throwing. You ready for this one? Mm-hmm. This is a competition over off the air. I'm throwing on a TrackMan on Thanksgiving.
Really? Nice,
yeah, I'm gonna be posting videos of me throwing sweepers. Awesome. Yeah.
Yes. I need to see the spin.
I'm trying to get the 18 inches of horizontal break. To preface this, I was never even a pitcher in high school. Like I've been an infielder my entire life. The last time I pitched was middle school, so I'm a little nervous about it. But I will have TrackMan data on myself come Thursday or Friday online. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because I have family in Arizona.
What are your expectations here?
Dude, I'm very nervous to be honest with you. I think I can get 18 inches of horizontal break because I have the ability to like drop my arm slot.
Okay.
Because I played infield, so I can drop my arm slot.
Yeah.
But it may have a lot of vertical break to go with it. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I have low expectations for myself.
Do you throw now, or are you gonna be coming in awfully cold?
Dude, I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old. Like
I haven't thrown in a hot
dude.
minute.
I haven't thrown realistically a baseball 3 years.
So you're about to throw on Thursday or Friday, and then you're gonna get Tommy John on Saturday. Is what you're saying?
I am willing to risk it.
Just for the post, the TrackMan post.
It may be better than you think. I may get signed the next day too.
True. Yeah. So, be sure to tag Jed Hoerner in that.
Yeah, I'm going to this major league facility with a few baseball folks. So
that's really cool.
See. Yeah, it'll be fun. Now I'm nervous. You got me very nervous. I'm
about it.
I'm starting to sweat over here.
You better warm up plenty. That's all I'm saying.
God, my shoulders are already sore, man. I slept on a funny last night.
Yeah, you're gonna be up all night the night before and be like, oh, like I'm so.
My palms are literally sweating right now. I never thought about that.
You gotta play some Edwin Rios hype music on your way to the round.
Oh my god, something. You're right.
All right. Speaking of guys who can throw, not quite as good as you, will we see Cade Horton next year? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean that. Like, I think neither of us meant that to come across like duh. But it's like,
No,
yeah,
it's
like
more of a compliment to Cade Horton.
yeah. He's I don't know. I'm pretty. As far as Cade goes, it's how do the Cubs? He's not throwing more than 130 innings next year. He threw 88 this year.
Yeah.
For the Cubs don't typically add more than 40 innings year over year. And so like we're not going to see 130 innings, more than 130 innings from him next year. So how does that work with Cade? Because you got a situation where he still needs some. He's probably got a few games in the minors. In my opinion, I think he can make 5 starts in AA, AAA, wherever you want to put him. He's ready for the big leagues. It's just more just to freshen him up, make sure he's good to go. But the problem is if you start doing that in April, you're going to want to use Cade for your playoff run come September and October.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
Can you just like delay him a little bit? Like get him started late? I'm serious about this.
I think Zumac threw that out there.
Like get him going, start ramping him up like late March.
Yeah, but isn't that weird? Like, I mean, it is weird, but like,
is that even legal these days?
I think you can keep him down in extended spring training for sure.
But I mean, like you have to justify it, right? Like if you're Cade Horton and you feel fine, like I would be pissed off if the team is intentionally delaying me.
Well, but like I said, I don't think it's likely that I don't think he really has a grievance if he's not on the opening day roster in Chicago. Like
No.
that's not. So you would just be, if you're in the minor leagues, you're in the minor leagues. You're not making. Oh, I guess I don't know.
You get paid the same.
I don't know.
I'm sure they
can set it up. I don't know about that actually.
You know,
if you're not making,
because they bumped up salaries, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Maybe you can set something up where like, hey, we're gonna keep you down in Arizona, keep you working on a very like strict innings kind of situation here, but you're paid like you were in AA, AAA. I don't know how that works. That's a good question. I have no idea, but it does get tricky though, right? It's like you're wanting him still throwing innings in September, and the only way to do that, the other option. So like one option is to delay him and have him start throwing like actual games in like May-ish, June-ish, whenever it is. The other option is to trot him out there come opening day in the minor leagues in April or whatever, early April, and have him go 2-3 innings at a time for quite some time, for like 5 or 6, 7 starts. But then he's coming up to the major leagues having only thrown 3 innings at a time. And he's not stretched out.
This is a question that, I don't think you and I have the answer to, and I don't think maybe a lot of people have the answer to. But if he throws 2-3 innings, you're still putting in the pre-work to get to that point where you're throwing 2-3 innings.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, if you throw 2-3 innings, to what degree is throwing 4 to 5 significantly going to increase your chances of fatigue over the course of the season versus amping up, going 2-3 innings, and then thinking, okay, well, he's at 100 innings in August. Now he's good to go in September. I wonder if it's equal in terms of volume limit versus the work you put in pre-game to get to that point. I
know exactly. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. I don't know, dude. I don't know how.
Does anyone know? Like, I don't think anyone knows. Like, how can you possibly quantitate that? You can't. And I think people are so risky about it, they probably just default on the innings limit, Yeah. And they adjust that way.
This doesn't answer your question because I don't have an answer for your question, but I think that it's worth pointing out that I think that major league organizations have been a whole lot more interested in bringing up top pitching prospects before they are quote unquote ready, because
Daniel Palencia is an example.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I think that's why I say Cade Horton has just a few starts in the minor leagues. Like, they just don't want to waste bullets in the minor leagues. Like, he has four pitches that are all the fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. All 4 of those pitches he throws a lot of them for strikes. He gets chases out of the zone, and he gets swing and miss in the zone. That's it. That's pitching. That's how you pitch. And if he does that now, I think, and the stuff is nasty enough, he's ready for the major leagues. So,
I mean, he's probably ready now. It's just a matter of giving him a good launching pad
You
where
need
it's
a runway. Yeah,
steady.
you needed some runway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna handle him. But yeah, we will see him next year.
Oh,
We'll see him next year for
question.
sure.
I thought
Yeah.
so. Jordan Wicks, how many innings did he have last year? So I don't know why I thought this, but I swear to God, I thought that he was going to be limited on innings, and he just kept starting every fifth day. I gotta
Jordan
look
Wicks
this
is
up.
different.
He is different, man.
I
I
like
love
actually.
Jordan Wicks.
Like and Cade Horton's a dog too.
Yeah,
Jordan Wicks is different.
I'm about to do the math right now. So he pitched, what is this? 50, 58, 58 plus 33 plus 34, 125 innings. And the
How
year
many?
before, 125 on the dot.
And he went 94 the year before.
He went. So there you go.
Yeah,
So
you're not really bumping up more than 40.
so he's gonna get 160 next year. How many starts is that? He's gonna start. Jordan Wicks is an every fifth day starter next year. He's gonna get 29 starts.
He's ready. Yeah,
He's ready.
he is ready.
Go. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick.
Cade's kind of in a similar situation, just a year behind from Jordan Wicks, right? Cade was at 88 last year. You bump him up to
Yeah.
128,
Yeah.
and then you bump him up to 168, and then you're good to go.
So Wicks jumped from Tennessee to Iowa after 13 starts, which is what? That's going to be like, when did he go to Iowa last year? Was it July? He went
Wicks?
to Iowa? Yeah,
Yeah, probably July or so.
July. So, I mean, like,
I'm so bad with timelines, dude.
I know I'm all over the place, especially because, my brain's like degenerating, I feel like.
He was.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can probably put Cade on that timeline then, like June, July, right?
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Sick. I'm done.
I think that if he starts off the minor league year, if everything is normal, not accounting for limiting innings in any type of way, if it's a normal year, and he starts off in late March, early April in Tennessee or in Iowa, I think he's up in Chicago by May. Like,
But you think aggressively. Like you're an aggressive pitcher prospect guy. You've been talking about this for like 7 years, I feel like.
but
I remember in 2018, just let giving veterans too many chances to pitch.
well, I still agree with that. So, all right, we got another pitcher question. Ben Brown, is he a starter in your guys' eyes? Yeah.
I mean, like he's got a steep attack angle. He's got tight breakers. He's working through stuff. They messed with his fastball last year. He has a lot of growing to do. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't confidently give him major league innings next year, but if he continues to pass the test that Cubs put for him, I could see him start 5-ish games or so when they need him. But he has a lot of work to do. It's not he's the skeleton of a good pitcher is there, as Jed said, with the skeleton of a good roster is there, but they have a lot of work to do with him.
It feels extreme. I mean, I'm not projecting Cy Young votes in a few years from Ben Brown, but like it just feels very Justin Steely to me with Ben Brown. Where like I could see him making an impact in Chicago out of the bullpen first, but like right now, like he's going to start off the year in AAA as a starting pitcher.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at his numbers right now. So,
well, and Ben Brown was an especially weird case where like he was not as good. He's not as good as what we saw from him in AA. He's not as bad as what we saw from him in AAA. He's somewhere in the middle. In AA, he was working with the tacky baseball, the pre-tack baseball, and that's people hated that. But for a guy who's heavy. Fastball spin, curveball spin, slider. Is really a curveball spin. That helped him a ton. And then he gets up to Iowa, where he probably dealt with the crappy ABS strike zone, and then also was now no longer. Huh? I don't think that was. I think the real problem in the minor leagues was the tacky ball. Guys hated that.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Guys hated that. Actually, I'm coming out with. I'm dropping the new Cubs on Deck episode tomorrow morning on Tuesday morning with Cole Franklin. I talked with him a little bit about the tacky ball, and the dude hated it, man. Like, well, and especially for guys that relied on the changeup, like Cole Franklin does. Like Cole Franklin, that's his go-to pitch is the changeup, and you're supposed to be trying to kill spin, and with a tacky ball, it's just generating more spin. So,
yeah, Cole Franklin seems like one of those guys. Like I'm rooting hard for him. I really am. And it seems like he had a good year last year. He finished strong.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty confident in his year too. So
He's a naturally confident person, I can tell.
he is. I love Cole. He's a good guy.
But I wanted, let me pull up Ben Brown's numbers for a second because it's going to inform what I'm about to say. Yeah. Okay. So the advantage of Brown is, first, look at his size and stature. Super tall guy, right? His slider, who knows how well these get classified, but his tight slider thrown at 86 miles per hour, 3 inches of horizontal break, but it drops. It's super tight. So, like, if you look at the average slider in Major League Baseball, it has about 1 inch of induced vertical break, like +1, with around, what is this? I always have his numbers up. I don't have them up here. Yeah. So with 3 inches of horizontal. So think about this. Brent Brown.
Typical slider.
Okay. Not your sweepers. Typical sliders. 3 inches of horizontal +1 of induced vertical break, 85 miles per hour. Okay. Ben Brown, 86. Okay.
Yeah.
Slightly above average. 3 inches of horizontal. So average horizontal. 5 inches of negative induced vertical break.
Okay.
So that's a 5-inch separation from the major league average. So it's tight. It's a tight breaker and it drops. So what does that mean? Ben Brown, platoon, he can handle platoons because he can throw that against lefties just like Adler does, right?
Yeah.
So he has starting potential. He just hasn't shown the ability to command it. And he needs that fastball to go with it too. It's not quite there yet.
So what about you got his numbers on his curveball? Because that's the more interesting pitch to me. Like that's the unicorn type pitch that we don't really see much of, where it's like it's way I'd imagine
I don't have numbers on it.
It's way fast. Well, so the curveball is like, that's all he thinks he throws the curve, like he does. Like he says he throws the curveball way more than the slider, but it is.
I mean, maybe they're just misclassified. Maybe I'm talking about.
He throws it hard. He throws it hard.
Well,
so that
there
might be
you go. So this is a curveball.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a weird pitcher. He's like the who the Cubs I think should get is Tyler Glasnow. So
they already have him. They already have him. Ben Brown.
That's true. Not apples to apples, but they have very similar.
Can we get a Tyler Glasnow? We already have a Tyler Glasnow at home.
Let's get two of them. That'd be sick.
Thomas says I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs run a 6-man rotation at times. I'm all for a 6-man rotation typically. And actually, hold on. I'm actually, now the way that the rotation like sets up, I'm for it. I've been for it in
just
years
a matter
past.
if the pitchers are comfortable with it. You know, ideally you can spread them out and reduce innings, but some guys don't like it. Marcus Stroman doesn't like it.
But look who you have now, right? I mean,
you have a younger staff.
Your staff kind of matches. That would work out well if Steele's cool with it.
I would be fully on board. I prefer it, but I've been surprised they haven't done it. So there's
right now the starting pitcher depth isn't really there, so that might impact.
Yeah, which kind of scares me.
It might keep guys healthy. I don't know. There's still guys they'll bring in.
Hold on, before we go there, the Nola signing for 175. Would you have done that if you were the Cubs? Seems high initially, right? But then you start thinking about it.
I think I would have. I think I would have. Part of it,
man.
Nola was my I wanted Nola.
Dude,
like he was my number one guy.
Man. Yeah, it's a workhorse.
This offseason, like he was the guy I wanted, and then I saw the number. I was like, it's kind of high. But
I know.
I know he had a 4.5 ERA this year. I don't really.
Yeah. But his stuff rates so well. You put him in that defense. The Phillies defense was, outside of stop, wasn't the best.
I would have done it. I would have done it. Yeah.
I would have done it too. I'm a little worried about the top stability of the rotation, even with Steele for his second full year. We'll see.
Well, we missed out on Lance Lynn, so.
Yeah.
Darn.
How can we recover?
What else we got here? Here you go. Do you think that Jed watched all of Council's grounders from his career?
Brandon M. We're very similar, Brandon M. With a few letters difference. Probably. If I did, maybe Jed did as well. You can easily find them. Go to YouTube, go to MLB Vault. They're all there.
Yeah, what's your go-to? How do you find all these? Like when you're
How
pulling
do I
up,
do this?
yeah, when you're doing Dansby Nico highlights every morning, where are you getting it from?
I wrote a computer program to download all the videos at once. So then I just
Seriously?
yeah. Then
Nice.
it's very easy to do. And then I
I mean,
match. You want to know
very
you
very
want to know
easy.
my process?
Yeah, yeah, actually I
So
do.
I
Yeah.
have all the videos. Like I
Okay.
have about 800 videos on my hard drive, and then I match it to
Psychopath behavior.
I match it to expected batting average, and I just manually go to the high ones,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then like I can go through about 50 videos in about 10 minutes. And then, so I do about 50 videos, like once a day. And then I edit them and then I just like schedule the tweets. So it's very easy to do. I already timed it. You can watch all these videos in an hour and a half. It's very easy to do.
You can watch all of them in an hour and a half.
You can, I swear to
Actually
God. I
that's
swear to
actually
God.
kind of cool.
This whole like hypo Joe watch every
You,
video. No,
you
no.
know like everyone's like, oh, like the serial killer trait.
Me?
That's that a little bit, a
Oh
little bit.
boy.
But
Oh
I mean, I
boy.
respect it. I would do the same thing
Oh boy.
if I
It's
knew
easy.
that I
You
was
can use ChatGPT. ChatGPT can write it for you.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Who should I do that with? You already got Nico and Dansby covered.
Oh man. You can do it with let's see. Patrick Wisdom at third base. Your guy. You said
I
you
mean,
wanted him.
vibes.
I do like Patrick Wisdom though. He does have
No, yeah,
vibes.
all things like actually, like all jokes aside with Patrick Wisdom, like he's perfectly fine
Yeah,
if he's not your everyday starting third baseman.
he's fine. If
He's
if
fine.
you're relying on Wisdom, then you got problems on your roster.
Yeah, then the
Yeah,
problem is not Wisdom, it's the rest of your team. Yeah.
exactly.
All right, Bill asked on Twitter, which prospects have an outside shot of moving up into the top 10 from relatively unknown status, say from outside the top 25-ish. I'll let you decide.
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta
I'll
pull up
go
this list.
yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah, gonna have to because I gotta pull up the list.
I mean, I think that Zaire Hope is probably my pick because I think most people do not have him in the top 25-ish. And I again, spoiler alert, I'll just say it. I'm gonna have Zaire Hope at 13.
That's high.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have him at 13. So I think that he's already close to top 10 when most people are gonna have him outside the top 30 probably. So Hope is probably my pick. Let's see if we got anybody else here. From
I'm
outside the
looking.
top 10. Say again.
So I'm looking on mine, but I would say
The
Alexi
easy picks are,
Hernandez.
I was gonna say the easy
Yeah.
picks are the guys that are like not made to full season ball yet. Like
Some people
yeah,
like Alexi better than
yeah.
Christian. So
I'll have him ranked higher. Yeah.
then wait, hold on. Where would you have? Is it Alexis or Alexi?
I think it's Alexis.
So where would you put Alexis? Over? Is it? I hate these
Christian.
names. Mess with me. Is it Christian or Christian?
Christian. I mean, well,
Because he doesn't use the H on this C, so I always want to say
Yeah.
Christian,
Yeah.
like Christian Ronaldo.
I think it's Christian.
So it's Christian. So you put him on Christian?
I have them both right around 30.
Wow, you drop Christian at 30? What? Why? Dude, that's low, man. I know he didn't have. He's going slow. I get it, but my God, 30? Who do you have over him?
29
How old is
guys.
Christian? Who do you have over him?
No, I was just gonna say 29 guys. I have Christian at 31.
I mean, do you have? I mean,
Yeah,
who do you have over
you name a
him?
guy, and I'll tell you if I have him above him.
Uh, uh.
I have Hayden McGeary above him.
Well, yeah, Hayden McGeary was pretty high in
I have
this.
Pablo Aliendo above him.
Do you have Chase Strumpf over him?
No,
Do you,
no,
do
no.
you have
Good guess though, because I'm always the high man on Chase Strum.
do you have Brendan Davis over him?
Right in that same area. I have
Matt Mervis?
I have Brennan ranked right above him, but I mean they're the same in my eyes in terms of like where I have him ranked. What'd you say?
Not who did I say again? I
You said
forgot.
Brennan, and then you said
Matt Mervis. Matt Mervis.
I have Mervis higher. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I have Mervis higher, but I've always been the low guy on Matt Mervis.
Actually,
I've been the high.
this is a good one. Do you have Cole Franklin over him?
I have. Yeah, I do. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope on Cole for sure. Yeah, I think that Zaire Hope, Alexis Hernandez is a good one. I mean, it's you're really not going to see some of the guys in the upper levels jump from outside the top 25 to inside the top 10. Like even look at like Luis Vasquez may have been the biggest jump that we've seen in years in terms of prospect
Dude,
rankings.
I mean, his power increase was just like
Yeah,
so shocking.
and he went
That's
from
nuts.
outside the top 40 ish to like now I have him like just inside the top 20. So like that's a wild jump for a guy in the upper
God, when
levels of the
he's
minors.
like I like him. I like his defense so much. I just love seeing infield. Like here, dude. Here's my ideal like situation. Spring training rolls around.
Yep.
Not saying do it, but Brandon Crawford minor league contract,
Oh, dude,
or invite to spring training, infield practice of Vasquez, Nico, Dansby,
that'd be
Crawford. Dude, that
not
would
safe
be
for work.
man. That'd be
That'd be
insane.
that would actually be
That really would be incredible. Not just like
yeah.
blowing smoke here. It really would be incredible to
I
see those
mean,
guys.
even if you're signing Brandon Crawford just to come in spring training, and
That's what
then
I'm saying.
like
Spring training invite.
yeah,
Get a
I
chance to
don't.
go.
Oh,
But
that'd be
dude,
great. Oh my god, dude. How about that?
dude. Oh my
Say
God. I
less
need
on
it.
that.
I
Yeah.
need it.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. What else we got? D West has joined.
D West.
From talking to Greg Zumak, Christian Hernandez can't seem to get a feel for barreling the baseball. Yeah, that's right. That's why I've dropped him. He just, I mean, he's still athletic. The thing is, like, he's still athletic. He's
How
still
old is he now?
young,
Did
and
I already
like
ask this?
he's 19
He's still so young.
or he might be 20. He might be 20 now. But
Okay, he's
regardless,
old. He's old.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I'm like, this is what I'm worried most about is the feel for the barrel. It's the strikeout rates got better as the year wore on, but like he still wasn't finding the barrel. So I think the defense was decent. The base running was really good. Not only like he's fast, but he was also a good base runner. I think it was. I'd have to pull it up. I think he only got thrown out like twice all year on the base paths. So, and I like that in terms of like a baseball, like that just shows kind of a good baseball mind, smart baseball player, you know?
He walked 9% of the time. That's not
Yeah,
high, but it's not low.
well, I mean, if you go look at my bash metric, like he was above 100, like he was above league average in terms of bash.
And
So
you put him
like,
in your bottom 30?
yeah, well, I mean, top 30, but yeah.
Top 30?
Yeah.
You don't
No,
even believe you're in your own metrics.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, you're, and that was the one that was kind of where I went out of the ordinary for sure. I don't know. I think that it would be great if Christian Hernandez starts hitting for power. Yeah, I think that he still has raw power. I think that's still there. Like, I think if you could still watch him put on a show in batting practice for sure. It's just like finding that barrel against a slider or against a changeup. Like, I think that's a big thing.
I have a question for you. You
Yeah.
have to think about this. Maybe you already have. This time next year, who's the number one Cubs prospect?
All right, so this time next year, so we're at that point. I'm assuming graduations from PCA and
PCA.
Cade Horton.
Yeah, Kate Hoerner.
Those guys are
Yep.
off. Kevin Alcantara. It's Kevin Alcantara.
Yep.
He wouldn't have graduated by then. It's Kevin, and I don't think. I think he'll figure it out. I think he'll figure it out a little bit more. I mean, he's already like I view him as a 5-tool prospect.
He's also not normal. He's
also not normal.
Freak athlete.
Plus vibes, dude. I'm telling you, the Cubs have vibes in addition to good players.
Dude, I forgot if it was a base hit or he tagged up, but he slid in the home plate and he gets up and he's losing his mind.
Yeah,
You've seen this, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that is crazy person.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. I think Kevin Alcantara is the move. I mean, I think there's a bunch of guys. I mean, like Owen Casey probably will not have graduated by that point. Jefferson Rojas, like I think Jefferson Rojas is more likely to hop above Alcantara than like Owen Casey, because it's just if Jefferson Rojas goes nuclear this year, then it's like that's the dude, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm putting money down, it's probably on Alcantara.
I think you have to if you put money down.
Let's swing back to Major League. Are you good on time?
I got till 3 a.m. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll keep going. Let's swing back towards the Major League side. I saw Jordan Wicks. Had a 4-ish ERA, but his FIP was like 470. Is he really reliable as a 5 starter? Wesneski had worse peripheral stats than real stats too. I'll kick it to you first on that.
The Wisniewski comp. So there's two ways of looking at this. The first is looking at pitch profile, and then the second is looking at the statistics of ERA and FIP and the run prevention type statistics. Wisniewski in 2022, he had enormous success because he had rare top tier command where his slider and his below average fastball were rating from a command point of view as 65 to 70 on the 80 scale, which means 2 standard deviations away in the Major League Baseball sample. Now, last year for Wisniewski, what ended up happening was some either reversion or natural regression where the below league average fastball started to get hit more naturally because the command wasn't as sharp. At the same time, perhaps unexpectedly, the slider command dipped where he didn't have the slider command as he did in 2022. So he was a 2-pitch pitcher. He had success in 2022 because of those 2 pitches and because of the command. Now, he didn't have those 2 pitches command, and he doesn't have a 3rd pitch to pair with any types of struggles. Jordan Wicks is different because he has multiple pitch types that can handle lefties and righties, whereas Wisniewski is best right now against righties, where Wicks is more projectable is with his straighter four-seam fastball, is with a changeup that is among the best changeups from a prospect point of view, but perhaps over time maybe better, I think likely better than Major League average. And then he's working on a cutter, curveball, and slider. Cutter, tighter, slider, a little bit tighter than his curveball. And he has essentially 5 pitch types that he can use with high frequency, which means if you start thinking about the probability he can adjust and find pitch types, it's quite high because the volume is already quite high. Whereas Wisniewski, you need him to have an average fastball or he's not going to succeed because he only has 1 breaking pitch. He's working on his changeup, but his changeup has some barriers due to his mechanics, whereas Wicks doesn't have those barriers to his breaking pitches. So they're very different pitchers. Now, to the 4-ish ERA and 4.7 FIP, you got to think about this in small sample sizes where you're going to have some natural variance. You have to also think about this for the upfront value he provided sans those last 2-3 starts where he started to fatigue a little bit. So the capacity for him to be a 3.5 to 4 FIP guy is quite high, and he showcased that the majority of the time he was in the bigs. So that's the difference. I'm very high on Wicks as a average pitcher next year that can provide 2 WAR. I think that's a good chance of happening.
Brennan has entered the zone. No, that was really good. I think that I mean it's like really, I mean if we're simplifying it, if you can allow me to simplify this a little bit, I look at Jordan Wicks and I'm willing to bet on a guy that has multiple good pitches over a guy in Wisniewski who has 1 really good pitch and then a lot of question marks.
Yeah. Well, you can get by with 2 pitches. Strider did it for Atlanta before last year. Justin Steele, I guess you can call him a 2-pitch pitcher. I mean, no, he's kind of got like 3 different pitch iterations of the same pitch type. But guys do it. Chris Archer did it many years ago. It's just you have to at least have a dominant fastball, and that's what Hayden doesn't have because he has that lower release point. So he has more of a leakier tailing fastball that gets lit up against lefties. That's what it is.
Do you think that Wisniewski will ever find it? Do you
It's
think
a timing
he
issue.
can get there?
It's in the same context as Morel. Can Morel play third base? Probably. Are the Cubs willing to accept that risk right now? Given everything, it seems less likely as the days go on.
All right, I give you the chance to get nerdy. Can I get nerdy here? We got a question from
You're gonna have to answer this one.
Yeah, I figured this one was up my alley here. Yeah. Question from D West might be a fun one. One guy to have a better future, Felix Stevens or Brian Calmer. So yeah, this is nerdy, man. These are guys. I think I saw earlier. D West said something about where he would rank Calmer.
Yeah, D West is a sneaky nerd, man. He's a sneaky nerd.
I'm not willing to say sneaky. He said, "Give me Calmer getting into the top 15 as far as prospects."
So you're saying Calmer's
Okay,
better than
so
Christian Hernandez?
here's what I will say.
That's
Here's
a
what I will
bold
say.
prediction.
Just like people got pissed off at me in years prior with Matt Mervis, and people got pissed off with me about Hayden McGeary last year, people are going to be pissed off at me again about Brian Calmer and where I rank him this year. So both of these guys, in my eyes, right? Let me before I speak to that, let me look up where I have Felix Stevens ranked.
As you're looking them up, there's a question here. Where can you find the 6570 command? Yeah, Fangraphs has it. If I can join this chat, which I think I have, I'll just drop the link in there. There's 2 different metrics you can use. You can use Pitching Bot or Stuff Plus. More or less, they attempt to answer the same question, different methodology, different algorithms, but under the same type of algorithm. But there is some error to this. The degree of error is kind of unknown. Like, there should have been more information about that, but you can find it in Fangraphs. And as Greg is answering this, I'll drop the link.
So as far as Felix Stevens and Brian Calmer, I want to make David pass out. I got them both in right around the 50 mark in the system. I have them 50th ranked prospect in the organization. And the way I view that a lot of times as far as like rankings is like, I'm ranking guys against like, what would I trade them? Like, who would I want to trade first? And right now, like I fully expect Calmer to rise up my list from the 50s, obviously. But right now, like, would I trade Brian Calmer for like before I would trade like Ezekiel Pagan even? No, I would rather trade Calmer than Ezekiel Pagan. I have more faith in him. So yeah, I think that between Stevens and Calmer, I don't know, take your pick. I think that's my answer, is take your pick. With Stevens, you're getting some of the best raw power in the organization. I think he's up there with, like, I think it's Owen Casey, Kevin Alcantara, and Felix Stevens is up there. I think he's like a top 5 raw power in the organization. I don't think Brian Calmer has that, but Brian Calmer is going to limit the strikeouts more than Felix Stevens is already striking out at 30+% in the lower levels of the minors. So I don't know, if I'm putting money down on one guy, I'm probably putting money down on Brian Calmer because he feels like a safer bet than Felix Stevens. But like, you also love Felix Stevens having that like one really elite skill. So I don't know. I think that this is a major like take your pick thing. I think that Johnny Long falls in that same category with these two guys, where it's like, I don't know, they're guys that play first base, and that's probably where you're going to see them, and they have to rake in order to climb up the system. So, yep.
All right. I tried to drop the link in this chat, by the way, but it's not working. So I'll have to verbalize it. Go to Fangraphs, and if you go to leaderboards, you got to play around with the tabs, but there's this pitch modeling tab. You can find it. It's kind of hard to describe on the show, but just go to Fangraphs, type it in, Google it, you'll find it.
All right. Looks like Bill has hopped into the stream. We used his question from Twitter, which is fun. Let me see. Let me go back to some of those.
I got like an eyelash in my eye. I don't know what's going on
over there.
Maybe I am.
What else we got here? Alexis Hernandez had an outstanding ACL campaign this year. I think he played better than Christian. That's from Rich, so you have to believe it now, Brendan.
All right, Rich says it all. Gotta believe it.
All right, Cubs free agent signings. You got anything on? Help me with the pronunciation. Is it?
You're asking the wrong guy to pronounce. I can barely pronounce my native language.
Do you know anything about him as a free agent signing?
I need to dive deeper in it before I give a confident opinion. These guys are very good. I think I'm going to do it on the show with Corey on Thursday or Friday. But for me to give an objective response, I need to know what's going on here. So I don't have much yet.
I was going to say I'll be tuned into that because I got nothing. So let's see if any more from Twitter that we have here. I think we might have gotten to all of them there.
Wow, that was a lot.
One more here from Rich Deanna, Rich Deanna runs the Cubs Top Prospects Facebook group, and he's terrific at doing
I know the
so.
name.
Yeah, he's terrific. He says, are Alcantara's contact issues enough to start causing concern in your eyes? Is he more or less tradable than he was?
That's a good question.
More or less tradable. That's a
good question.
I'll attack the first part first because I'm not sure about the second one. His contact issues, yeah, and they're a little bit of a concern. I'm not. I'm more concerned about his like chase after sliders because that's something that's tougher to like learn how to pick up that skill. He just chases sliders out of the zone too much.
Yeah.
I'm not all that concerned about pitches in the zone. I mean, I know that he has some swing and miss on pitches in the zone. I know that exists. Um, and actually, his swing strike rate is higher than Owen Casey's. But remember, though, that Owen Casey watches a lot of pitches. So when he's swinging, like that makes a difference on that swing strike rate. I'm not too concerned yet. I'm not. I think that obviously he's tall, long, lanky, and it's gonna be tough to catch up with some fastballs inside.
Yeah.
But he's also got absurdly fast hands, and I've seen him turn on fastballs inside a lot. So not too concerned.
So I mean, you know, you guys follow this way more than I do, but I'm just going like month by month. He finished off quite strong. His last, what is this here? 118 plate appearances, walk rate of 12%, K rate of 22%. It's not that bad, you know. You can date back to even the start of July, and what was it? Start of July, same exact thing. 12% for walk rate, 22% K rate. Honestly, not that bad. You know, I would like for him to have more contact, but it could be worse. I can tell you that.
As far as is he more or less tradable, from the Cubs perspective, I think you got to look at it from the Cubs perspective, or like, and also from another team's perspective on how much they want him. From the Cubs perspective, I think that he's probably more tradable, I would say, because now
he
you
advanced.
Because he advanced, and because now you have Ian Happ locked in. You didn't have him locked into a contract last year, right? I mean, so like I think that like that's part of it. And so now that just jams things up a little bit more.
And Seiya had a good second
Exactly.
half.
Yeah. So
once you sign Juan Soto for an extension, he may play some outfield. You never know how it is.
Yeah. So I think that's the more important part of it. Now I think that he's more tradable from the Cubs perspective. From other teams, would they want him more? I think the answer is on that as well, right? Because like he just did it at a higher level now. He was less successful, but
age and higher level. That's the two biggest traits.
All right. I got to wrap this up here soon. I know we want to go all night, but I got to wrap up soon here. Looks like we got Tom saying I'm not trading any of the big three outfielders until its last resort, with I assume PCA, Alcantara, and Owen Casey. I don't know. What's your take on that? I'm with Tom. Like, don't trade these guys until you need to. And I think if needing to is a part of the Juan Soto package, then I'd listen to that.
Yeah, you got to keep your eyes open for any trades, even as extreme ones like PCA.
Yeah.
It depends who's part of the offer.
It depends. Yeah, and I've said it too. Like there is no such thing in my eyes as a untouchable prospect. It doesn't exist, or an untouchable player in general. That doesn't exist. All right, we got maybe end on this one unless we get a couple other good ones. This is probably more directed towards me as well. I would.
I mean, Jackson Ferris is sick. I know that, but this is more directed towards you.
Pitcher that stands out from AA on down. Heard a lot about McCullough, Franklin, Ferris. Jackson Ferris is like he's. I've got a comp
for him, a player comp, like a visual off the top of your head. If not, it's
like visual and so like how he throws.
Yeah, it's like a visual player comp.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I have to think about it more.
I gotta think about it too.
I have to think about it.
Go ahead.
Ferris is my guy. I mean, it's to me. I have Ferris ranked above Ben Brown. It's to me it's Cade Horton, Jordan Wicks, Jackson Ferris, and I'd listen to Jackson Ferris above Jordan Wicks.
Jackson Ferris over Jordan Wicks in terms of ceiling, absolutely. Likely to produce value, I would say Jordan Wicks. That makes sense.
Jackson Ferris feels like a better version of DJ Hers.
Yeah, it's got the weird
I love DJ. I love
going.
DJ. I mean, like he just got added to the 40-man roster for the Nats. Like I love him.
Good for him. I feel as if that trade's gonna haunt us for some reason.
Yeah,
it's got that feel to it.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Here's actually something here.
Oh yeah, Porter Hodge.
Yeah, Porter Hodge. Have you looked into some of his stuff?
Not deeply. What's going on?
Oh, you're gonna like him. You're gonna like him.
I mean, I've heard a lot of good about him.
Yeah, I mean, just you talk about guys that are just like do things that are different, that wonky, and they're fun uniqueness. Porter Hodge is that he throws it. It's a lot of people are like labeling it as a cutter, like it's his fastball. It's like it's the Justin Steele, like a crazy amount of cut fastball that he touches up to like 97, 98.
So he's like the righty version of Justin Steele.
Yeah. He's fastball with a lot of cut and then a slider.
Is he started? I see he did both.
So yeah, he was a starter and he was converted to a reliever pretty early on in the year last year, maybe mid-season or so. But he's still a young guy. He just got added to 40, obviously.
So he'll be up.
He'll hit. I think if he shows up in Chicago next year, don't be surprised. What's
really his role? Multi-inning guy or just ball out one max inning?
I don't know. It's too soon to tell because he's so young and he worked as a starter literally into last year. So it's like I don't know what they envisioned for him. Now he's on the 40-man roster, so it gets a little bit trickier.
So his starting days are over though.
I'd now that he's been added to the 40-man roster, I have more confidence in him staying as a reliever than as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm not ruling it out yet, but I mean, the same way that I think in the same way you look at Palencia and Luke Little. Well, Luke Little's different. In the same way you look at Palencia.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
All right. Last one here.
Last one.
Does Darius Hill realistically ever have a shot to play in Chicago? 2022 felt the year for a chance. Darius Hill is a good example of like a guy that like you really need in your upper levels of the minor leagues. Like you have to have the Darius Hills of the world, because if there's some scenario where there's multiple injuries, then yeah, like Darius Hill could get that call because he wouldn't look like he would fit in at the major league level because he's such a high contact guy that he's not going to go up there and look ridiculous at the plate. And so like you need Darius Hills. It's entirely dependent on. It's entirely dependent on like what he ends up or what ends up happening at the major league level in terms of injuries. So,
yep.
All right, man. You got anything else? Anything you want to chat about?
Let me think. I think
I'm almost done with my drink, so like I think that's the cue.
I have like no beer. I'm drinking wine over here.
I've got a Vista Bay hard seltzer, so
nice.
I'm pretty good.
Nice. I got nothing else, man. It's a solid. What is 130 minutes?
Yeah, we've gone 2 hours and 7 minutes. So this
is the longest I've ever done a show.
Is it? There you go.
We broke a record.
My longest was one of the draft shows. When in the draft, just like, dude, I think it was a show with me and Jimmy. It was like one of our first with me and Jimmy.
How's Jimmy doing?
Like, good, man. Good.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him in the past few weeks, but he's doing good. He's staying in tune with stuff as much as he can, but I don't
should do like a show like
I should
once in a blue moon with Jimmy.
Yeah,
you know?
I should reach out to him and see if he's game.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was the very first draft show, and it would have been the Ed Howard draft, I think.
Is it the COVID draft?
Yeah, it was the COVID draft.
You had nothing else to do.
It was
sitting up there
and we were
football.
We were like, oh, this will be fine. Like we'll do this. It'll be great.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there, it was like, oh my god, like this is. I think it was like 3.5 hours, dude. I think we were on like for like a long time, and we had some guests on and stuff. But it's like, how do we find time to talk about? Like, I don't know what we talked about for that amount of time. I have no idea.
You got through it 3.5 hours.
Yeah, we probably sounded ridiculous, but I mean, we sound ridiculous now, me and you.
We do. Oh, well. One of these days, we should do like a 4-hour show. We could definitely do it.
We could
definitely do it.
Yeah, let me carve out like a
entire day.
I don't know how I have time for this.
Hey, sorry, I got to take off Friday. Why? I was not feeling the best.
Call for vacation time, just talk nonsense for 4 hours. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, brother. Well, that's all I got to. For anybody who's still on, you want to plug yourself, or anybody that goes back to watch this later, you want to plug yourself?
Yeah, sure. What's my Twitter handle? I
think it's
at Brendan Cubs. There we go. Brendan _Cubs. I don't know if so that's what it is. I do a show with Corey Friedman. What was it? Every Friday morning it goes out. It's on all those RSS feeds, Spotify, Apple, CHGO. I'll plug the other guys. So they do it every single day. Luke, Ryan, Cody, Jared Willis, Corey's in there, I think, once a week. Go listen to them. They're good. They're fun. And that's what I have.
Yeah, I'll be on with them later this week. I'm hopping on Wednesday with, I think it's just Ryan and Luke on Wednesday. And so I'll hop on with them on Wednesday to talk a little bit about the guys the Cubs added on the 40-man roster, some other prospect stuff. I haven't been on with them for a while, so I'll go on with them. Like I said, tomorrow, or I guess whenever you guys are listening to this, on Tuesday the 21st, the Cole Franklin interview will be live on YouTube here, where you're watching this. It'll be on any of the podcast platforms, all that good stuff. If you could give this a like, subscribe to the Northside Bound YouTube channel. Like I said, I'm trying to get to 500. We're almost there. I think we're about 30 off or so. So I appreciate everybody subscribing. I'm sure that if you're here, you probably already subscribed because you guys
those
are
likes do
nerds
matter,
like
by
us.
the way.
They
I
do.
thought they were overrated. They're really
Yeah.
not overrated. You get some of those likes, all of a sudden you're in that algorithm, you get like tons of views. It's nuts.
I'll let you figure out the algorithm. That's on
It's
you.
beyond my understanding. I only have one brain is for baseball algorithms. So I don't do anything else.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to everybody else later. Appreciate it, guys.
We did it.